Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mind of a Motor podcast. I'm Anika Walker, and I'm your host. And tonight we're going to talk about the Ferrari and what is wrong with the Ferrari.
The fuck is the matter with you?
What's the matter with you?
What's the matter with you? This is your co-host over here. This is Al Davis with his little pygmy friend here. This is Enzo the Bird. Enzo, say hello to everybody. Say hello to
We're
everybody.
saying a lot of bad words in the first
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm John from Han Jazz. Can't really do an Italian accent too well, but I do have an Italian godfather, so do with that as you wish.
It's got an Italian
Oh.
godfather. Yes. All right. So there's been an Italian bomb dropped in the car world this week, and it's called the Ferrari Luce. Oh, the Ferrari, dude.
You come to
I think we
me.
got to just go right into it. All right. I guess first off, this is going to be a whole Ferrari episode. We're going to discuss the Ferrari Luce to start with, because that's everyone's bursting at the seams to talk about that. But then we're also going to talk about some Ferraris we've driven, do some reviews, and then we're going to talk about Ferrari as a brand, leading from the review into kind of the discussion of what we think about the direction the brand has been going lately.
And this attitude
what
they
we'd like
have.
to see them do, and compared to what they may or may not be able or willing to do. So get ready to talk about some Ferraris. Luce. What is our reaction to the Luce?
Well, first off, what is it? Okay, for
All
people who haven't seen it, what is it's
You mean
Ferrari's
for the
first EV.
0.01% of people that haven't seen it yet?
Well, in the car world, yeah. So this is Ferrari's first EV, and we all knew they were making it, but we didn't realize that they were basically going to make a Prius and not like a Ferrari. And it is powerful. It's 1,035 horsepower, and it draws the torque from Enzo Ferrari spinning in his grave.
Ooh.
So very powerful, because he's
Oh.
really putting a lot of torque. He's mad. Like Enzo, dude, if you know how Enzo was, bro. He's whipping around in the afterlife.
Rumor has it he died in a fit of rage. He died of a heart attack brought on by rage.
He actually was a time traveler, and he actually died from seeing this car released under his brand.
No, it's shouldn't talk about a tragedy.
No, so I mean, all right. So this is their EV, and this is their solution to electrification. I mean, the reality, look, guys, the reality I think is Ferrari was basically required to make an EV of some type, right? By the EU, the regulations that are going on, they can't just make V12s and even hybrids and stuff. They need a full BEV.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they put some thought into how they wanted to do that, and here we are. And I think a lot of us may or may not agree on what they did. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Al? You seem to have a strong opinion on this, you and your parrot.
Let's hear it, Al.
Yeah, Enzo and I have been talking about it, and let's be honest here. The first thing I saw I saw the first photos of this car. This car came out. The launch came officially. It was Monday evening of this week.
It was on Memorial Day in America.
On Memorial Day here in the United States of America, and the launch hit during the middle of Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I was actually watching TV, and then my phone starts buzzing. I grab it. I'm like, all right, what's this now? And it's the Luce. And first thing that came to my brain was, please, April Fool's Day was 7.5 fucking weeks ago. What is this? Some kind of a joke?
Dude, they really should have launched it on April 1st. That would have been
very funny.
And because everybody would be like,
laughing.
wait, what? Huh? Wait. Oh,
Yeah,
shit,
it would have been
serious?
It would have been great. It would have been the greatest episode of Punked in the history of episodes of Punked. If you guys
Except
ever
it's
watched
real.
that show.
The only
Yeah.
thing is, this
Nah,
isn't a
it's
joke.
not.
Yeah,
And
it's
this
not a
doesn't
joke,
involve
though.
Ashton Kutcher either. The second, once I came to and understood this is legitimate, the next thing went through my brain was, it's a fucking Playmobil car. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with this. Playmobil
Very
was
familiar. I
okay.
had a lot of
My,
that as a kid.
yeah, my parents bought those for my
Yeah.
brothers and I when we were kids.
Great
And
toys, by the way. Great,
oh,
the best,
God.
some of the best toys. Also Italian, as it turns out.
That's why I thought of them actually. They were Italian, very nice toys, and they were some of the first toy cars that I had as a little kid, like before I
Yeah.
turned 3. And I'm thinking to myself, did they raid the Playmobil factory for this? Because it looked like something that belonged on a Playmobil box. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is not right. And I kept reading the bump. I kept reading the press release. And, obviously, 1,000 horsepower. It's going to be a very powerful vehicle. It's going to have a weight of, I think, a hair under 5,000 pounds US, which is, on paper, in terms of just reading through it, if you kept your eyes on the text column, didn't look at the car, your thing is like, okay, this is interesting. Then you look at the styling. And here's the thing. This is the first, what I realized, it's the first four-door Ferrari that is not an SUV-based vehicle. It's low-ish.
I think it's really the second four-door Ferrari in history.
I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into the whole Sultan Brunei thing.
Yeah, I'm not getting no. The Purosangue before it.
Purosangue was marketed more as a crossover, as far as I can work out.
I mean, well, yeah, but it's a four-door.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
This is the first four-door Ferrari that's not being marketed as a crossover. It's being marketed as more of a passenger car. And I'm saying to myself, okay, a lot of firsts here. Then you look at the style and you're like, oh my God, what have you done? What have you done? You've just taken the Mona Lisa and you've drawn a handlebar mustache on it. Are you kidding me? This is the Super Bowl. This isn't Detroit, man. Come on. I was not happy, which is why I immediately went to the WKUK sketch from a long time ago of, you have fucked up now. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Because, I mean, this is not a good look for Ferrari. Ferraris are supposed to be swoopy, low. They're supposed to be gorgeous. The Testarossa from the 80s is an iconic looking vehicle, and they just brought back the name and gave us something beautiful. So even he's pissed off. Even he's getting
out his angry energy by flying around.
He's animated little birdie over here. Enzo, I'm so sorry. I know, buddy. I'm so sorry.
All right, well, John, what's your take? What's your take, John?
Well, I want to start with my first impressions.
Yeah.
And the first impression really was when they teased the interior, because I actually was excited about that. They came out with, this new interior design by the design firm, the name of which is
Johnny Ive, and I forget what his firm is called.
Mark Newson from Love From or something. So
Love Form or something.
Love Form, yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Actually, they're bringing back some more of the manual switches, aluminum. It looked like they had some interesting stuff going on with the user experience in terms of how they handled the screen and the layout, and that all looked cool. But then when they unveiled the actual car, I kind of made me think, okay, this is why this was just a teaser, because I think they nailed it, in that perspective. But I think, handling the rest of the car, it's obvious that the public perspective just did not land. So that was my initial impression, but I have some ideas as to why Ferrari went this way, and as to why they sort of, So Nick, what do you think? Why do you think?
I had the same. I mean, I think everybody had this reaction. Like, I think we've all known it's coming, right? And I think, but there was a shock when you first saw it. When I pulled it up and I saw that first Ferrari Instagram post, I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
I didn't think it was real.
What the fuck did they just do? Like, what? Like, because, we all thought it was going to look like a Ferrari. And the reality is it doesn't look like a Ferrari.
Not even a little bit.
You take the badges off and you put Tesla or Lucid or Honda or any other brand, this car would not be a Ferrari looking car, right?
Amazon delivery, anyone?
Amazon delivery. Like it really doesn't scream Ferrari without the branding on it as a style piece. And so I think that's what's shocking about it. But then I think, I'm with you, John. I think, we talked in our text group when we're like, obviously we got to talk about this. And I was like, let's all think about what we would have done instead, how we would have done this better. Right. And my mind immediately goes to, I think one of the things I was initially pissed at was, it's fine, it's electric. We all knew that was coming, but like you didn't even make a Ferrari, right? You made like a Tesla Model X or something. You know what I mean? Like this isn't even a Ferrari.
No, it doesn't. It's not even close.
Yeah. So my thought process initially was like they should have made like a sort of like a Koenigsegg Gamera type car where it's like a 2-door but 4-seater GT car with mid-engine type proportions because you have a skateboard body and no engine. And I was thinking about that, but then it's like it just kind of comes back. You keep coming back to like, well, the Ramats didn't sell, right? Like all these other EV sports cars didn't sell. The Ramats is one of the most incredible performing cars anybody's ever made. Roast to Chiron. Nobody bought it. You know what I mean? Nobody bought it. And it just, and Porsche just canceled. They almost had the development finished. Like we were in the final stages, ready to unveil the cars for the EV Boxster and Cayman, and they canned it. They shelved that project, which is a big win for ICE people like us. But like that's how much the industry has realized the market just doesn't want an EV like that. And so when you start to realize that, it's like Ferrari is a brand that really has made nothing but sports cars and race cars its entire life, right? Since 1947 or 48. They've been making racing cars and they've been making sports cars for the street to sell to fund their racing. That was the traditional aspect. And then, of course, they become blown up a big brand. They make a lot of different types of sports cars now, but really it's all derived
from their ethos.
It's a GT car, a supercar, or whatever. It's all sports cars. They've been making essentially square pegs that fit in a square hole. Now, they're presented with the EU regulations. They have to make something for a round hole now. And I think they made the decision, instead of trying to cut the square peg to fit in the round hole weird, we're just going to make a round peg. And that's the Luce. A total departure from everything they've ever done. Ferrari's made a daily driver.
Okay. I hear what you're saying about the daily driver thing, but they have the Purasang, which you could potentially use the daily as well.
But I mean, yeah,
in a way. Granted, it's ICE, so it's going to be a different.
You got to realize the
case.
Purasang, like again, I think people assume that car is more different than the history of Ferrari than it really is. The Purasang is just the replacement for the Lusso and the FF, the 612 and the 456.
Okay,
400s. It's that.
Yeah, it's the successor.
The the GT cars of today have become SUVs. And so if you just take a Lusso, add a rear door that's a suicide door, and give it a 2-inch lift, that's a Purasang, dude. It's the same exact thing. So it is an SUV. It's totally dailyable, but in the same way that like a Lusso is dailyable. This, on the other hand, is primary purpose is to be a daily runabout. I think that's different from a big V12 GT car.
Fair.
You see what I mean?
Of course. And I understand what you're saying. I really do. Here's the problem. And I think we're all eventually going to come back around to this because, this is what happened with us. It's the damn styling, man. This reminds me of the 1992 presidential election, what Bill Clinton said to George H.W. Bush in one of the debates. I think you both know what I'm about to say here.
No, that was the wrong one.
that was much later, sir. You don't know this quote, do you?
No,
John, you
I'm
might.
Sure, I might remember. I was just throwing that in there. Got it.
It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah. Well,
it's the styling, stupid. Here's the problem. This is such a it's almost anonymous looking. If you took the Ferrari badges off, it just blends in too much. Ferrari could have made, okay, fine, you're going to make a commuter car. I get it. Cool. You're going to make a four-door vehicle that's low to the ground. That's going to be for commuting. It's going to probably be, I look at it now, the way you're seeing it, as something that could do what, let's see, a Lucid Air, the top of the line model, could
No,
do for a lot
it's
more
literally
money.
a Model X. Look at it like a Model X.
Okay, Model X.
You know what I mean? It's
Model
like
X,
it's the
whatever.
same basic
Hate the darn
size,
thing,
maybe
but
even
yeah.
a little smaller. It's
Okay.
it's a daily runabout.
Okay, fair point. Fair
You know
point.
what I
Daily
mean?
runabout. But they made it look too anonymous. It's just this is I hate to say it because I think that Ferrari did what I thought would be for them would be the impossible, which is they finally had their Pontiac Aztec moment where the wraps came off and the reaction was a mixture of silence and laughter. Because that was the reaction of the Aztec when it came out, because everybody was like, are you joking? Here, it's actually worse because with Pontiac, they had the economies of scale because it's General Motors to sort of save themselves a little bit. With Ferrari, my fear is that they're going to have a lot of money invested in this, a ton of money. It's a brand new product. It's uncharted waters for the company, and it's been about 48 hours now. At the time, it's now about 9:15 p.m. So it's probably been about 48 hours since the launch, and there's already been an effect on their stock price as well. Guys,
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not worried
oh,
about any of that. I'm going to have to go ahead and
bothers me.
disagree with you on the styling, dude. I think I'm actually coming around to it 2 days in. I think there was an initial shock because it was so different than what we thought it was going to be. We were just expecting a Ferrari with an electric motor, like a classic Ferrari with an electric motor. The styling serves its purpose. This is a daily driver. Ferrari's never made a purpose-built daily driver in their history. This is the first one. And I'm going to talk about the economics and the purpose of this car too, but just sticking with the styling, this car, even in black, the shape of this car, that front wing, right? It has, people say it's like a chin or whatever, but it's also a front wing, right? This car is going to turn heads in the real world. You gotta also realize, like with a lot of Ferraris images when they released them, they started releasing these weird like CGI backgrounds and stuff. This car amongst normal traffic is going to stand out. The proportions, the sleekness, the cleanness of a lot of the lines that it has. It is not classic Ferrari, but it has some elements there, some clean aspects, some subtle curves, right? And I think it is actually a pretty bold shape. It's a Prius shape, but it's a Prius shape sort of, turned up in a way, especially with those fan wheels. I think that also helps it stand out. And obviously it's got some colors, but look, on the same argument that you're making about this, you think it's boring, dude. If you see a Lamborghini Urus in black or silver, I don't notice those either. That looks like every other SUV. I think this is a more noticeable design than an Urus in a shade color.
Notice I never said it was ugly. If I said it was unnoticeable,
that's what I mean.
maybe yeah.
Well, you kind of did, but
no,
I don't think it's
just
ugly.
said it doesn't. What I was saying was it doesn't suit Ferrari. Is my point. It just feels out of place.
It is a departure from their traditional type of styling. That's 100% right.
They could have done more. That they seem to have taken the jelly bean route a little bit too far with this, especially the roof shape. The fenders. I think that I understand probably some of this was done for aerodynamic purposes because
a lot of it's aerodynamic because the range is like okay, like
which is good because they need that. There's a lot of aspects to this that annoyed me a bit, and it just maybe now hey, we're very fluid here on the Mind Over Motor podcast. Maybe there's going to be a chance for me to change my opinion, and I hope there is because
like
I want to be a little optimistic.
Cars, you need to see it in person before you write your full opinion on it. Because
I hope so, but we all know right now there is
in every Italian car, not everything shows up in pictures. There's all the subtle curves, the little details. So I would wait until you see it in person, and really
Yeah.
I would say wait till you see one drive by amongst normal traffic.
Yeah, wait till I
Then you
see
will
one drive
really
through Tom's River.
understand the styling of the car.
One other thing, and this is something I think you guys may or may not have seen in the press release. They're going to try to get this to have sound through mechanical motion. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, they're
hear
amplifying
about
the
that.
sounds that it actually makes. They're not generating fake sounds.
I want to give Ferrari a significant amount of credit for trying to do
Yes.
that.
100%.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I mean, see, even
Yeah.
even El Duce over here.
Well, and it
agrees.
has simulated gearing,
Don't
like
bite me.
like the Hyundai and stuff. I believe they have simulated gear ratios, so you can shift.
Having driven one of those, I no problem with that.
Yeah. No, I mean that's what I mean. Like some of the details in how they're doing this actually make a lot of sense. And the more I think about this car, the more it actually makes sense. Now, we need to talk about who this is for. Ferrari on the surface is saying, and again, this is all supposition. This is my opinion, right?
Speculation.
Expressing my opinion. I'm speculating. This, Ferrari, don't sue me because this is all speculation. Ferrari is saying that they want to attract new buyers with this car to the brand. They're saying they want an 80-20. They're targeting an 80-20 split between new buyers and 20% existing buyers, right? Existing customers. I don't really buy that given the details of the car. This is a car that's going to cost $640,000 base price, they're saying. That's about double what a car meant to attract new buyers to the brand would need to cost. You're basically double an Urus, triple a G-Wagon, triple a Range Rover, these types of things. Like this car is as expensive or maybe more expensive than like a Phantom. Like we're talking about some serious cash here. And I just don't know like if there's a lot of like rich tech people that aren't in the cars that would
It's 1.5 times the
Ferrari, like who aren't already into the Ferrari brand for Ferraris that would be drawn in by this at the price point of over $500,000. Like if it's this this or a G-Wagon or this or a Range Rover, yeah, sure, I could see that drawing in a new Crowd or an Urus or something, right? Like, but when you're talking like double or triple what the competition costs, like a Cayenne turbo EV, like when you're talking like double or triple that, I'm just not seeing who the hell they're talking about.
It's $100,000 more than a Cullinan, and it's 1.5 times the price of the Purosangue.
Well, you guys mentioned stock price, and I kind of want to bring something up about that.
Sure.
So Ferrari became a publicly traded company a few years ago. And I think when you look at, historically speaking, when you look at publicly traded companies, they have to really do two things. And that is they have to figure out a way to make more money all the time. Okay, that's one thing.
Yep. I work for one.
And they have to get new customers. And so an EV like this, especially at this price point, I guarantee you the margins are absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Right. That would be my
totally.
initial guess. And then, like what you were saying, if they're already satisfying their main customer base with, the special cars and then the other cars that they offer, the V8 cars, the 296, if they're already, satisfying those customers, then they need to try to figure out something for someone new, right? So someone who just had some, big investment in their tech company or someone who just went public in their company. I guess they're looking for this car, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of hard to see how many of those new customers are going to be interested.
Like if you're not already interested in Ferrari, you know what I mean? Like they're like, we're going to get people who are, I saw somebody said something like, oh, if a 296 is too loud and crazy for you, but you want to be interested in a Ferrari. And I'm like, first off, a 296 is quiet as hell. And we're going to talk about that later. But like, second off, like I don't know who this is that they're talking about. And I have my theory. My theory is their actual business. I think that's the business plan they have to present to the public. I think their actual business plan is the same business plan they've had the whole time. You are not going to be able to get any of the special cars unless you're running a Luce at this point. Their existing customer base is going to be leveraged for this. $640,000 for most of those guys is not a big deal, right? It's going to be a car. Look,
Yeah, that's
I have
true.
another, and again, this is all speculation. I have another theory here. Over the last 10 years or so, Ferrari's been buzzing. Things have been going crazy. The market's been going nuts. Ferrari's client list is getting a little crowded for such an exclusive brand. I think this car is going to be a device for Ferrari to separate the big dogs from the little dogs amongst their clients. If you're willing to buy this car and take whatever loss, it's going to help you when it comes to deciding allocations. I don't think they're going to like be, say you're required to have a Luce to get the F90 or whatever. I don't think that's going to be that obvious. It never is with the Italians, right? But it's like, it's definitely going to help your chances a lot if you play their game to the full extent.
Of
right?
getting a build slot, yeah.
If you buy, yeah, exactly. Like I think there is going to be sort of the in crowd, and all of the in crowd. Let's put it this way: all of the in crowd is going to have Luces. Some of the out crowd might, but everyone who's in the top tier customer list, they're all going to have Luces, guaranteed. Because here's the thing, right? You're dealing with their clientele is some of the richest, most competitive people on earth. This is a competition between rich guys to get allocations for these cars. If all you have to do is buy a daily driver that's twice the cost of your Urus and keep it, because you're going to lose 400 grand on it if you try to sell it within, after a year or two, you'll lose a ton of money on it. So don't sell it. I think this is a buy and keep for a lot of these guys. You buy the car, and I'm going to be honest, it's like I have a hunch. I think a lot of these guys are going to buy this car. They're going to use it. They're going to, their spouse will use it. Their maids might even use it. You might see a lot of these cars dropping kids off with the housekeeper, in school lines in Greenwich and stuff. They're going to use the car. And I have a hunch that I think people are really going to like using these cars, provided they're reliable. If that's the one caveat, it's Italian, it's electric. Italian and electric usually go together like water and olive oil. But, hey, look, if it works, I think people, again, Jimmy Ive, who's better at designing like ergonomic art, interfaces and everything like that than the Apple guys? Who's better at that? I'm sure it's going to be an amazing car to live with if it works, right? I think like ergonomics and everything like that, the way the car drives, I'm sure. And that's the other thing, it's going to drive good. Ferrari doesn't miss there, right? Ferrari, it's going to drive spectacularally.
That's the one thing I was curious about too. We're all just looking at, but yeah, I'm still curious.
I trust, like, remember the 296, John? We're going to talk about that, but like, you remember how fucking well that handled? Like,
it's insane.
They don't miss the dynamics, right? It's going to be good then. But I think that this car, the real business plan here is to sort of thin the herd amongst Ferrari's big buyer customers. And I think they're actually going to move a lot of these things because it's going to be sort of understood that if you want a full opportunity at the next Icona car, look, we also know the rumors at this point, they're pretty public, that there's a manual 12 Cilindri coming out this summer. So that's happening. It sounds like there's also rumors of a non-hybrid 296 model. Now, again, will these be Icona cars? Will they just be standard release? We don't know. But the point is they're going to be hard to get. I have a feeling the second, if they're having trouble with Luce orders right now, the second they announce this manual 12 Cilindri, the Luce order book is going to be full for a year or two. Guaranteed. So
wouldn't be surprised if
in a way, I also think there's on the back end, I think that in a way, the Luce might become a big Ferrari flex amongst the community of Ferrari owners in places like Greenwich and stuff, right? Like rich areas.
We'll see where that goes with that.
Having a Luce, dailying one to the shops, portrays to everybody else. It's peacocking, right? It shows that you're one of the Ferrari big dogs. You're one of the Ferrari insiders.
For sure.
This could be a big deal in the Hamptons.
You're out and about in that because you're on the list to get the next LaFerrari, right? You're basically bringing that status with you and you're driving it around.
Absolutely.
Any really rich area, I think you're going to see a lot of these.
Hey, right? I'll be in the Hamptons later this summer.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the initial response to this car has been negative, but I think a lot of it is because one, it's obviously like us, mostly people who are never going to buy one. And I think the people that are in a position to buy one are also not really able to criticize it publicly without backlash from Ferrari. So you're not really going to hear what potential owners really think, because they don't want to ruin their relationship with Ferrari. And I think, quite frankly, I trust
That
Ferrari.
plays into the second part of our discussion too.
Yeah, exactly. And I trust Ferrari's execution here. And frankly, I think when you look at this car and you realize they've made a daily driver, this is not, it doesn't look like every other Ferrari because it's a totally new type of car for them. When you look at it in that context, as it's their Model X, right? It's their Model Y, right? If you look at it in that context, it actually looks pretty good. You got to realize, like in a sea of like Teslas and other things, it is more bold than a Tesla. It's
I'll
a
have to
way
see
more
it in person.
style car,
I'll
and
have
that's
to
what I
see
mean.
it in
I think wait until you see it in traffic.
Yeah,
and I think
it's
I think
funny
it's
you bring that up because I remember when the Model X came out back in 2016, and I thought it was a pretty boldly styled car. But as bold as it was in traveling, it was very bold when keep in mind, when it was new.
Yeah.
I remember, and I think both of you guys know where this is. There is a geodesic dome house in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, near
Yeah, that's
That's
Carter
right
Road.
where it is. Yep.
Yep, it's behind BMS.
Yeah.
It's like in between Provincetown and Carter Road.
Near
It's like
Carter
on
Road
that,
there in the back.
it's on that
woods,
crossroad in the back. I first learned about it 10 years ago when I was driving to work and the road was closed. So I was like, oh my God, what is that house? There was the person who owned that house at the time that just bought one of the first Model X's in Jersey.
Mhm.
And the thing is, at the time, that there really weren't a lot of trees. So I actually caught a glimpse of the Model X with the door up in front of the house.
Oh,
I'm thinking to myself, my God, you got a professional photographer over there and just shoot that, make that your promo photo for the Model X. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I will say with the Luce, I am kind of glad they didn't do anything tacky like that. I mean, as cool as the doors are, like, I think it's more functional just to have a door. I think ergonomically,
I agree completely.
like I've seen people dealing with the Model X gullwing doors, and you have to wait so long for them to
it's
close and stuff.
it's
and
like it's like a
looks
more
like a hassle.
it's like a more demented version of the DeLorean Gullwing.
Yeah, like
It's
like
probably-
it's cool if you don't have to live with it, and it looks
It's
like
probably
a pain in the
even
ass
less
to do.
it's probably less reliable than the Gullwing on the DeLorean because those only have one strut. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the Tesla doors are a lot more complex.
Oh yeah, they move
So have
around
fun
to
with-
like avoid.
Yeah,
shit.
they're like a bird wing. It's ridiculous. Sorry if I offended you over here, my friend.
So this is the first 5-seater. So it's not the first 4-door, but it is
Yeah.
the first 5-seater, which
That's
is
I
pretty
did not
cool.
realize that. That's interesting.
Now, let me ask
Someone's
you guys
riding
this.
bitch.
If there was no allocation game, what do you think a competitive price for this should be? Because I think by itself, $650 is way too high for what.
Well, I was thinking to myself, like, dude, if this car was a Lucid and it was the same exact details, looked the same, but it was a Lucid, they would sell literally 0 units for 640,000. They would
No,
sell
yeah.
literally 0.
Right.
Ferrari is the only company on earth that could sell this car for that price, right?
Yeah.
They're the only company on earth.
Agreed.
Now, yeah, like what would it take to if they didn't have the inducement game? I don't know, 150 grand.
That's
maybe
what I was going to
200.
say. Yeah.
I think
I was thinking
there's kind of
higher,
a cap.
but
There's kind of a cap in that
Between
range.
150 and 200, I think, is probably,
Yeah, I
you
was
still
gonna
got
say
they were
in
still
twos.
Ferrari, but they didn't have the inducement power like they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably in that range. And even then, they would still tank. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying that this car is like going to hold value. Like, no, I think they're good customers are going to buy them. It's probably going to be a buy and hold because I think they all know they're going to lose like 400 grand if they try to sell it. Like, so
Yeah.
I think they're going to buy it, they're going to use it, and they're going to enjoy using them. I think they're going to be pretty good to drive and everything and live with. But I just think like it's going to be, it's for the big Ferrari clients. That's who this car's for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It makes me wonder then, because it is a bit more of a, and we just talked, our last episode, we talked about a couple of football players. I wonder how many athletes are going to plunk down cash for this. because it's one of those things. Like it could be the new look at me, especially if you're, let's say, you play for the Knicks.
600's a lot for that, dude.
It is, but some of these guys make crazy money, dude. You know
I think
that.
maybe like Patrick Mahomes or somebody that has a relationship with Ferrari and is looking to raise their status. I could see people like that.
Someone like him, yeah.
Who fit
I
into
could
the
see-
Ferrari clientele, but I think
I could see
anybody
Brady doing
is
it.
this going to be like? Is someone going to go just do this as a gag as their first Ferrari? Probably not. Not for 600. Maybe,
No,
maybe
not
like
a
I
little
said, maybe for 200 or 300 if you're talking Urus money. But 650.
I don't see any rookies doing it. That's for sure. Do you think someone 7 feet tall could fit one of these?
I don't know. I've never. I haven't,
That's a good
until I see it
question.
in person. Who knows? I mean, I hope they've engineered it for tall people. I think that's a big limiting factor when they do. But you know what? Actually, Ferrari's been pretty good about that in their modern cars.
I mean,
You can fit
which
tall people in a lot of their cars.
who was it that had a 4.56? Wasn't it Shaquille O'Neal?
Shaquille O'Neal had a 360 that he elongated the wheelbase of, so he.
But didn't he have a 4.56 too?
Probably.
We
I
Michael,
think Shaq had
Michael,
all of them back in the day, dude.
well, we know Jordan.
Everything he
had
could
a
remotely
512.
fit in, and even the stuff he
Oh,
couldn't,
yeah.
he just stretched.
I guess. He was 7'1" and weighed, I think his playing days like 303. So
Yeah.
you know, if you got the money, you got the money. When you're playing for the Lakers, I mean, hello.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a moment to toot our own horns here. All right.
Okay.
And this
Yeah.
is something that I noticed throughout, automotive media. They really did not address the elephant in the room in like any of the major publications about the mixed signals from this car. They really like every video that I watched from a major publication, they just kind of glazed this thing. And I was
So
a little bit
I
shocked by
heard
that.
about why that happened.
Let's hear it.
Shmee 150 did an amazing video, and I could tell Tim is fucking pissed about how Ferrari handled the launch of this car, because he basically said like they threw them into the room with the car. They didn't show it first, so they literally gave him 30 minutes after, like, here's the car, you have 30 minutes, and the
Wow.
Ferrari people were all hovering.
Yeah.
So they
Oh.
couldn't. They won. Tim said he was like, I was just so shocked. I had to just sort of like fake my way through it, do a quick video, and then he's at the airport or something on his laptop doing the real video talking about it. And I could tell Tim was really, really mad about the way they did it. And he was, again, I mean,
They were exerting their control over
wondering if he
everybody in
pissed
the room.
Ferrari
weren't
off because he was criticizing how they were doing this stuff. But I think a lot of
Oh,
the
boy.
coverage you're seeing is because of that. That's how they did it. They kind of just like, there it is. You have 30 minutes to shoot a whole video. And
Sure.
you're just, meanwhile, I mean, imagine all our reaction when we saw it on social media. It took me a few minutes to be like, to even realize what the hell I was looking at.
Right.
It got
Yeah.
got me annoyed enough that I was like, I want to go back to watching my basketball game.
Well, we keep it objective here. That's all I was going to say. We keep
do.
it objective.
Once I started thinking about, like, okay, how would I have done this better? That's when I understood where they were coming from with this car. I was like, you know what? I think given everything, the alternative was make a Ferrari that's an EV and watch them actually not sell at all. Right? Because
Yeah.
nobody actually, the market's proven they don't want that car. So
No,
this is
that's true.
different. They just took and they just made the car that the type of EV that actually sells. That's what this is. They made a Tesla Model X. So I applaud them for their. I will say I applaud.
They made a
Ferrari.
Tesla. Oh, that's
I
brutal.
applaud Ferrari for being realistic in this and not just
Pie in the sky.
taking their and not just taking their egos into the wind to be like they'll buy ours. Like they were like, look, nobody's buying these. Let's make a different kind of car that actually works well as an EV for our customers that already have all the sports cars. Let's give them a daily driver because we've never given them a daily driver before. Now they don't have to leave the brand to go to the shops. Here you go. I applaud that. I think that was actually a good strategy, and I think it's going to pay off, even if they have to, strong arm their existing customers to move these things out the door, which I think really is the plan all along. But they're not going to like launch this car and be like, all right, now all of our existing customers have to buy them. No, they're going to be like, we want to get all the new customers because it's a new car. And it's like, maybe that's the optimistic plan, but the fallback is you can't get an F90 unless you've got 3 Luces. So order. That's the fallback.
We'll
This
make him an
car-
offer.
This car will sell.
I'll make him an offer. He can't refuse.
Exactly. They're very good at making offers that you can't refuse. so with that, if anybody is, you don't have anything else, I think those are our thoughts on the Luce from the opening bell. Excited to see one in person, and maybe find a way to drive one.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. But I'm excited to see it.
Listen,
I'm excited to see it in traffic for the first time, and see it in person, sit in it, check out all these little clicky buttons that the Apple guys made.
Listen, Ferrari, I'll cut you a deal. You let me drive it, I'll make sure he doesn't come with me.
All right, so
I think I'm better than you.
Let's keep it moving. We've got 2 car reviews to do. Now, these are 2. We're going to do one, then the other. This is a curated lineup. Recently, I drove out in Vegas. I made it a point to drive a Ferrari F430. Now, I was trying to drive the Scuderia they had again, because the first Ferrari I ever drove was a Scuderia, and that changed my whole fucking world. Right. So that car was in service or whatever, was in the shop. I have a hunch they're probably selling it because the values have gone too high for a company like Dream Racing to hold a car like that past a certain point. But maybe not. Hopefully they're keeping it. But they had a backup 430, and I was like, you know what? That'll still work for what I'm looking to find. The reason I wanted to do that was John and I drove a 296 last year in the fall of last year. And I was a little, I had some thoughts about that, and we'll talk about that here.
I still need to drive that car.
It is amazing in a lot of ways. But it's complicated, and it made me thinking back to what I really valued about Ferraris and the impression that the 430 had made on me when I first started getting to drive these cars. And so I wanted to go back, and I purposely wanted to drive a 430 when we went to Vegas, and I drove a bunch of cars. So I drove the 430. It was not the Scuderia, but it did have a nice valved exhaust on it. It had a nice valve delete exhaust on it. So it didn't have it was kind of just loud all the time, which was cool. And Al, you've also driven an F430 before, and not in a while. So you're a little rusty on your things, but I
got good memories. I got strong enough memories of it.
That was the first Ferrari you ever drove too, right?
It was. So
right.
allow me to just elaborate a little bit on that. It was a black on black F430 Spider at NJMP a very long time. It was 2012. It's 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And put it this way, I still have a lot of very fun memories. Very, very sharp car. The SparkNotes version is this. Any kind of preconceived notion I had, that was one of the first mid-engine cars I'd ever driven as well.
Yeah.
Were thrown out the window. At the time, they had just taken it out of production because the 458 was already around. And it was, honest to God, a really capable vehicle. And it was also the last mid-engine V8 Ferrari to be sold with the option of the gated manual, because the next one that you couldn't get that anymore. In fact, to this day, it's still not available. And I think that was one of the last vehicles Ferrari offered with it.
Well,
like we just said in
the Luce section, I think that's about to change. But
yeah, that there may be a flip back, but this is not about the.
At the time of recording, there are no gated manual brand new Ferraris at this point, and there haven't been for 15 years.
There's no gated manual new anything you can get right now. Period. Even if it wasn't
the R8
was the
R8 was the last one.
R8 V10. That's right.
Yeah.
So for someone who's not super familiar with the Ferrari lineage of cars, give me the breakdown on what the 430 is. And I think my understanding is it's kind of an evolution of the 360, which came before it. How do those two cars sort of compare?
So basically, the F430 is what you call the mid-engine, what used to be the lineage of mid-engine V8 supercars, sports cars, supercars. Some of the Brits seem to consider these cars sports cars. For me, this is the quintessential supercar, right? The mid-level, what you think of when you think of supercar in the modern sense. It goes back to, I think the 70s, late 70s, and they brought out the 308.
Early 70s.
Oh, no, yes, the early 70s. That's right. That was it
goes all the way back to the Dino 246. Which gets replaced by two cars. It gets replaced by the 208 and the 308. The 208, just the SparkNotes version, was sold only in Italy because of the tax on anything more than 2 liters, but the 308 was sold in the rest of the world. Eventually, Ferrari was able to convince the Italian government that wasn't necessary anymore. The 328 replaces everybody. 328 goes to the 348. Mid 1990s, that gets replaced by the 355, which was the first mid-engine V8 Ferrari to get the option of a flappy paddle gearbox, as the Brits call it, or the F1 transmission as we know it today. 360 replaces that, and they finally go back down to 2 body styles, getting rid of the Targa and just having the fixed head coupe and the Spider. The 430 was the next man up. And one of the most important things to know about the 430 was that it was also the very first of this lineage to feature, I believe, and Nick, please tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure I'm not on this one, the Manettino switch.
Yeah,
That was the first one to get it, because
was all buttons.
That's right. When the Manettino switch allows you to control your drive modes. So you can either have everything on, you have sport mode, race, and then the one that I know I didn't use this. And I don't know if any of the three of us have used this.
I've never used CST off.
CST off, which cuts everything.
Yeah.
And it's you versus the car.
I haven't been in a situation where I'm ready to do that in somebody else's 6-figure car. So when I can, cool. Parking lot, open, somewhere where you just spin out, cool. But no, none of these situations haven't been fortunate enough to do that. But yeah, so after this, so the 430 was then replaced by the 458, which was, the last naturally aspirated V8 Ferrari. And then after that, it was the 488, which brought turbos to the mix. Then the F8, which was, just the last iteration of really the 488, just with a facelift. And then they went to the V6 hybrid and the 296, which is the second car we're going to review here. So, but I wanted to get back. The reason for driving this was I wanted to go back and experience the naturally aspirated V8 Ferrari, because the 296 left me really conflicted about the direction Ferrari's going, and compared to the magic of the older cars and what really made them so special. So with that, I decided I drove the 430, and here we go. Let's jump into the review. The 430, so the F430 is 485 horsepower mid-engine V8. It weighs a little bit over like 3,000 pounds. The Scuderia is like 2,900, which is awesome because it's like even lighter. But yeah, I think this is like 30.
They weigh nothing.
Yeah, they're really light and really sharp. And they had a pretty advanced version of Ferrari's single clutch. Basically, the 430 Scuderia and the 599 GTO had the best version of the single clutch Ferrari F1 transmission before they went to the dual clutch, and it's pretty damn good. And I'll be honest, in hindsight, the single clutch F1 gearbox in this car, having been driving dual clutch stuff for years, the single clutch gearbox in this actually feels kind of special. It's got a mechanical feel to it. You feel it disengage and re-engage every time you shift. It's got a little bit, it takes a little longer. It's a little bit more of an event when you shift rather than just a brip. Every other car I drove that day had was just like brip, brip, brip. This is like, you feel it move and then it goes. And I don't know, there's some novelty to that.
It is a more mechanical component. Let's explore that. I mean, as an engineer, I'll tell you what, back in the mid 2000s, electric actuator technology wasn't quite ready to handle the high heat conditions of a transmission. So it was always going to be more mechanical back then. And it makes a lot of, and the funny thing is that kind of interface, I wish it never goes away, but the slow march of progress kicks us straight in the bulls.
Well, and I mean, honestly, from a speed and smoothness standpoint, like jumping out of this and jumping into the GT4 RS with PDK, I mean, it's night and day, dude. Like,
yeah, it's true.
But I will say again,
we saw the infancy of it about 5 years after this car came out.
As just an entertainment device, there's a lot more novelty to the way that the 430 shifts than any of the dual clutch cars, because it just, it's a mechanical process that you feel happening, and it's special. It's not like any normal car, right? It makes it driving special. So granted, I was on a racetrack. I wasn't in traffic. In traffic, it's a pain in the ass, you know, and
Yeah, that was
servicing
always its Achilles heel.
You gotta have the clutch adjusted throughout its life, you know, so that it doesn't slip. It's a lot of people cheap out and they don't adjust the clutch and they wonder why they burn the clutch out very frequently. You got to have that adjustment done. So there's a lot more servicing to go with it. And frankly, a lot of people probably are just going to manual swap these. But beside the point, that's not the car I drove. Let's talk about the car we drove. So this is very much a fun car. So we're going to 60% of the score is going to be fun. 40% of the score is going to be function. And again, we are reviewing a 2008 Ferrari F430 in 2026. This is a used car, and we're reviewing it at the used car perspective. So starting with appearance, starting with the fun score, let's talk appearance. Look, man, the car I drove, the car each of us drove, was black on black. Kind of a basic spec F430, both times.
It does look good in black, though.
Nothing flashy, but it's a Ferrari. It's a mid-engine Ferrari, and the 430 took some of the slightly awkward styling of the bulbous styling of the 360. They're good looking cars, but this thing really made it look good. And I gotta be honest, just on the shape, I don't care what color it is. This car to me is a 5. You know what I mean? It is quintessential sexy Italian exotic.
Not to mention, they took the tail of. I think the tail of this car was inspired by the Enzo.
It was, yeah. It had like
that's
lights that stick out a little bit.
Yeah, the top mount lights, the exposed end, which was always a trademark for those cars.
Yeah,
but having the engine set up the way that it was,
yeah, you definitely can see through the glass, you see the engine, and
yeah.
I mean, how special is that, right? You're looking at the car; it's the centerpiece of the car, right?
It's a styling feature.
This car is literally a work of art.
Fully functional styling feature.
Yeah, it's functional art. This car, and they approached it like that back then. But you know, on a 296. You can't even see the engine under all this crap. You know what I mean? I just think it's like that aspect of it to me is, and again, we'll get to this later, is like sort of what I was missing in the 296, the artistry, the extra little attention to the art of the experience of the car, whether you're looking at it, driving it, listening to it, whatever. This car is an art form in every way. And that, to me, I feel like is being lost, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, I think the way it looks, sexy Italian exotic, it's the quintessential. It's what you think of when you think of a Ferrari, right? There you go.
That sound. Oh, man.
Sound. So this car had a valve delete exhaust on it. I don't know what brand, but basically, like, you know, normal F430s when they're stock, you can hear when they hit like I think it's like 3,500 RPM or 4,000, because you'll hear the valve open. It'll go from like, whoa. This didn't have any of that. Listen to it idle. It was super loud, especially compared to all the other cars lined up in the pit. This thing was like it was like the only car you could hear idling. Basically, it was that loud. And then we get out there and just, you know, from the first rip when the guy said go, it was like just the sound just takes over your existence. And it's got this bravado to it. The pitch changes. It's just, it is literally an art form. I can't stress that enough. Like the experience. And look, guys, it's not just, oh, it sounds good. The sound of the engine is how the car talks to you. You know what the engine and the powertrain are doing from the way it feels through the car, but also from it telling you through your ears. It's talking to you the whole time. You stay in, and that's what you get in a Ferrari like this. And the first thing I remember from the Scuderia was you just get the sense that the car becomes an extension of you, and it basically connects directly to your brainstem in every single way, from the steering to the brakes to the chassis to the gas pedal, the way it responds, the whole powertrain responds so sharply. It just talks to you. Every aspect of the car feeds the information directly to your brainstem, and driving it around on the track, driving it hard, it's so responsive that it just feels natural. It feels like a part of you. And it's that one-to-one connection, but I think the sound itself is just like, there's no guesswork. You hear it go up a little bit, you're going a little faster. You hear it go down a little bit, you're going a little slower, right? It's just an immediate connection with you through as many of your senses as it's able to connect to. It's not brushing your tongue, but other than that, you get it from every angle. And that is just such a special experience. And the normal 430 delivers that, maybe if you drive it back to back with the Scuderia, of course, the Scuderia is that much crazier, that much more dialed in. But like this thing, especially compared to some of the newer stuff, this thing is not lost a beat. It's 15 or whatever years old, almost 20 years old. And this 430 has not lost a beat. And like, look, guys, this 430 was not a cream puff. This was 50,000 miles in the desert. 50,000 miles in the desert.
Those are some very hard miles, man.
As a rental car being driven by people who have mostly no idea what the hell they're doing with it. But they mechanically maintain it well, so it was mechanically solid. But it was a little rough around the edges. This was not a peach of a 430, but oh my God, it had the magic. And so I
driven by people who had a hangover.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, it is. So obviously, I guess I was just gushing. Exactly. So I guess I was just gushing there, but obviously the sound is a 5, needless to say, because you get it from the exhaust, you get it from the engine right behind you. It's not in the cabin with you, but it might as well be. It's a few inches behind you. And I will say, I will play this now. Gab was filming from the paddock, and this was the only car you could hear like audibly loud from the main straight. And I'll play it here compared to the Pista. So that, just the fact that you can hear that sound is incredible. But so 5 out of 5 on the sound for sure. And yes, it had an exhaust, but I've driven stock ones. It's still a 5 out of 5.
To quote my dad quoting Darth Vader from when I was a kid, impressive. Most impressive.
It's like driving around with an opera everywhere you go.
Oh yeah, man.
It literally just feels like Pavarotti's singing everywhere you go.
Yeah.
It's
one of the greatest, and this is, keep in mind again, I'm a massive muscle car guy.
Yeah.
And even I'm the first to admit that V8 and in those cars has one of the greatest ranges.
Yeah.
Not just sound, but ranges.
Yeah.
In terms of pitch.
And that's what the McLarens are missing. The McLarens have like an exotic tone, but it's the same tone. There's no range. The Ferraris have the fucking range.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Ferrari can do the Wayne, again, nerd moment here. Ferrari can do the Wayne Bergeron trick, which is where they can keep that same tone as they hit the high register. And if you guys don't know who he is, if you've heard the opening theme to the movie The Incredibles, if you guys can play it in your head for a minute, that trumpet that goes over the top at the very beginning as the credits start to roll in the beginning of the film, that's Wayne. My brothers play with him, and to me, that's Ferrari. That is what they're best at in terms of sound, going straight over the top to the point where you hear it as if only dogs can hear.
Yeah. No, I mean,
they're good. It is their
we're going on and on about the sound, but it's worth it. Sound is like the centerpiece of one of the main centerpieces of the driving experience of this car, and it just has this bravado about it. It's like, it's not just noise, you know what I mean? It's literally like music as you drive along, and it follows you everywhere, and it develops your entire existence. So it's like it can't really be understated, and that's why I can't stand people that try to trivialize the role that the experience sound offers in driving.
Yes.
They're like, oh, so it just doesn't make any noise. Yeah, it's like go watch a fucking mime opera, you idiot. Like it's not even entertaining without that. So like,
No,
what the
think
hell are
about it.
you
I mean, it's
talking
like it's like going to the bell. And here's the thing: as someone who's a a student of music, in a certain sense, I still play to this day. It's a bit like trying to explain ballet without the orchestra there. Because if you guys have never seen ballet's got
Oh, yeah.
no script.
Yeah, it's all orchestra.
It's all musical.
Right.
And then opera, I could probably I can't think of a single opera that is in anything other than a foreign language. So yeah, it's you got to you got to understand with Ferrari or with any other exotic car, Lamborghini is included in this too.
Oh yeah.
Um,
oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
The auditory experience isn't optional.
No,
it is not optional.
Well, and people love it. I mean, that's the other thing is the sound is another aspect of the car. Like you may never, a lot of people may never drive a Ferrari, but you can experience part of it through the sound. It's a way that everybody can experience it. And that's like, why do you think all these kids are lining the streets of these cars and coffee to watch people leave? If it was all EVs, nobody would care. People want to hear the cars. That's why. It's all
the sound is so integral to this. You can't and you should not get away from it. It's one of those things that just makes sense.
And that's this one of the reasons come back to. And when we talk about the 296, we will come back to this point.
Someone's angry.
All right, so we've been gushing, and I did kind of touch on the driving engagement before. Like I said, everything just really connects directly to your brainstem. The car, you almost think your way around the track. It's that connected to you. There aren't many cars that are more engaging for the driver than this. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the tactile feel of the single clutch gearbox in hindsight, when it's not the newest thing, going back to it, it actually adds a charm all its own. I got to be honest, after driving it, I mean, obviously, like I would probably want to swap the car to manual, but after driving it, I didn't find it just archaic. I actually found it has some charm to it, and I wouldn't maybe rush to swap a manual. I would, and maybe if they got the car for the right price and stuff, like maybe I wouldn't bother. It feels special. It feels like an event in the shifting. I think that, and if it's a car just for pleasure, you're not really going out and sitting in a lot of traffic in it too much. You know what I mean? You're going out when the road's clear. You're going to go drive it. You're going to go have a blast through the woods, and it'll be great. And it feels genuinely special. Like it, you feel it, declutch and reclutch, and it's awesome. It's super mechanical, and it's very of this era. I mean, this is the only era of cars where that existed. So in a way, I mean, obviously manual is the timeless experience. This is definitely not timeless, but it is very 2000s, right? It's very, very 2000s. And it's kind of cool for that. In hindsight, moving back, having driven a lot of DCT stuff, including that day, it felt the most special to shift. It was not the most effective by any means, but it was by far the slowest, but it felt the most special. But yeah, driving engagement on this car, needless to say, it's a 5. The way it handles, the way it connects with you, it's fast enough. It's light, it's on its toes. It just talks to you in every way. 5 out of 5. So we're at a perfect score, 15 out of 15 dynamically. The extra point, if there was one, because it had the exhaust on it, but there isn't one to get. So cool. But it's at a 60 out of 60 for fun. Moving on to the function. All right. So function of the Ferrari F430, of a used Ferrari F430. The function is a used 15-year-old supercar, right? This is very much a to A car, maybe A to B, but like a pleasurable A to B. This isn't a daily car of any type, right? You're buying an old Ferrari. So as a fun piece, as a thrill ride, as a special vehicle to go drive when driving is the point, man, 5 out of 5. what an occasion. You know what I mean? This car is such an occasion. Everything, like I said, from the shifting to the way it drives, just every aspect of this car oozes with a sense of occasion just for being itself. Doesn't matter what else you're doing that day. If you go there in your Ferrari, you drove your Ferrari and you went to your daughter's recital. That's the side note. You drove there to and from in your Ferrari. That's the kind of car this is.
Yes.
Right,
Right there.
Hell
You were there. I always want to stay on that for a minute. If you're the kind of guy who, let's say your wife is the soloist and has the aria part, and I don't know. I love how we're talking about Ferraris. Keep going back to music. This is great.
What's more Italian than that?
Yeah, pretty much. Let's say your wife or your husband has the big part. Not only are you there you show up in the Ferrari, you're strutting right there. You're strutting because not only does your significant other get to have the spotlight, but when it's time to go home, they're in the spotlight all over again because they get to be the passenger.
Yeah. Well, and
I want
I
you
will
to think
say
about that
the
for a
only
minute. And
what
you're the
could
one who
be
gets
a-
to drive it.
what could be a drawback to that though is that you're going to spend the whole show thinking about your drive home.
That would be you.
That's what happens with these
That's
kind of
you.
cars.
That's you.
Dude, I remember when I
think
got my
most people wouldn't pull
Subaru.
that
When I got
crap.
my Subaru, I'd spend the whole freaking day at school just thinking about my drive home. Literally, my STI, like back in the day. But this is absolutely that kind of car.
Those
This
were
is
the
that
days.
visceral.
Let's not go off the rails on this one. 'Cause I had a fucking station wagon, but all I could think of was seeing if I could burn the front tires off the thing on the way out.
Well, you
Just
burnt
to
the
mess with people's
transmission.
heads.
You burnt the transmission off it, Al.
That was the wrong car.
Oh, true, different car. All right.
You're
Anyway,
thinking of the Saturn.
let's move on to quality. Quality. All right. So quality. This is the first point I'm going to take off. Quality is the first point I'm going to take off. So look, let's be honest here about Ferrari. We did go over the lineage. What you have to understand in the lineage of Ferrari is that the cars, there's Luca de Montezemolo took over the company in like 92, I believe. And the cars that were developed after he took over took a big quality step up from the cars before then.
That's true.
70s, and the early 90s. The Luca cars, the 355, right? That level car was a big step up from where they were. Then the 360 came out as the first all new platform under Luca, on which the F430 is based. And that was another big step up, right? From where things were in terms of build quality. But then you have to understand, so the 360 to 430, maybe a little bit of an incremental increase, similar quality between them, huge step up to the 458 and since then, that 458, 488, and then like John, you've been in the 296, man, like that's a quality car, right? Their quality, their ergonomics, their attention to detail has come like leagues and bounds from where it was back in the 90s. But what I will say is driving this and then driving the Pista like 2 cars later, oh my God, the difference between the 430 gen and the 458, 488 gen, the difference in quality and ergonomics is astonishing between those cars. This thing, not bad. Everything still worked, like the power seats and everything. All the stuff worked. Unlike the McLaren that I drove that day, which is much newer. So this old Ferrari still worked. But I will say there was a limitation to the position you could get the seat, right? There were just limitations, right? It's not an ergonomically designed car.
You only have so much space in the vehicle. You can't have it all.
Well, no, but in newer ones, they've figured out ways to kind of give you it all. Like just the ergonomic design of everything, it was not a priority back then. And so there is a little bit of that. Like you just kind of, I got my seat to a good point and I'm like, okay, I guess I got to live with it. Right. It gets where it gets. It was not quite back far enough. And okay, whatever. We got to live with it. There's a little bit of that. And obviously, we know about the sticky buttons issues in this generation of cars. And again, some of that has to do with how the car is taken care of. Is it left outside a lot? Things like that. But, because of that, I gave it a 3 in terms of quality. Because I think, again, just sort of by modern standards, you're going to have to deal with some of the build quality issues in an old one of these. And just budget for it, right? There's going to be some little switch gear that's going to need some TLC. But the mechanicals of the car are great, and I think just little bits like that. But I can't give it a good score because of that. You know what I mean? Just it's lacking in some ergonomics and it's lacking in some literal fit and finish. Now value for money. Moving on. I'm telling you right now, man, I am in bull market hardcore on these cars. These cars, like the Scuderias, are already going to the moon. Spiders are into the 7 figures. Scuderia 16Ms are touching millions. Scuderias themselves are like 500 plus cars now, basically, depending on the condition.
Good luck finding one for under
quite
500,
frankly, the driving experience between those cars and this, if you're not driving them back to back, you still get that raw, naturally aspirated engine. You still get let's put it this way: all of the magic is still here in the base 430. These cars haven't gone up yet, but they are primed to. It's locked and loaded, and they're about to pull the trigger to shoot them. Now, are they going to be $500,000? Probably not. But they're down to like around 120 at the lower range right now, like in the lower kind of hundreds, lower to mid hundreds.
And that's for the boring colored ones.
You can probably add $100,000 to that at least in the next 5 years. And,
they're definitely poised to jump.
Maybe even a little bit more. But I think the whole market for these and 599s, there's no reason that they're not, gonna be up there with all the other Ferraris pulling upward like that.
I'm seeing even
360 Ferraris are $1 million cars now. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way a 430 isn't.
It's funny. Base 360 Spiders are like peanuts,
and them too.
You can get those. I was looking. You can get those for like 105.
So here's the difference.
Look hard enough.
Here, I will say this. This is the difference. Is a lot of people are scared of the single clutch transmission cars because of the maintenance costs. You have to. The real key is you got to find cars with maintenance records, because the problem is a lot of the cars have been on the cheaper side for longer. Now, 430s, they've been 6 figures. This is really a problem with like Gallardos that have been like 50, 60, 70 grand, where people are skipping the servicing and stuff like that. Some of those might need a lot of work. 430s, they've been worth enough that I think the owners have largely kept up on the maintenance, but just make sure the maintenance has been kept up and do the clutch services. Make sure that the drivetrain is serviced properly, and you will not have as many problems as a lot of people report, because a lot of people didn't do that. Now that was more on the 360 side. When it was early, people didn't know they had to do that and stuff like that. The 430 things had gotten a lot better. The information was out there. I'm such a bull in this market, so it's a 5. I think if you buy one right now in the mid ones, you are good to go in terms of the value of the car. So 13 out of 15 total for the function, no extra points. That brings it to a 35 out of 40 for a total of 95 out of 100 for the
hell of a score.
30. High score. But this car
deserves
is the goods, man. This is everything you want. When you think you want a Ferrari, this is everything you want.
Stupid question time.
What's up?
It's time for the stupid question. You drove a coupe.
Right.
I drove a Spider. And but granted, with the Spider that I drove, they had to keep the roof up, probably for safety regulations, because I was on a track.
Right.
Personally, I'd have to have a Spider.
Agreed.
Just my take on the matter. As amazing, as capable, and as drop-dead gorgeous as the fixed head is, it's a great car. Great car. I got to have my Spider. And if you're picking a color, what color are you choosing?
I mean, I'm a sucker for like posy blue and stuff, but
great
I
color.
also like me a dark red too. Honestly, I would go with even these things in Rosa Corsa as
they do look good in that color.
Yeah, they're great. And I will say, like, having driven the coupe, I will say, like, I think as the market does start to climb, I think Spiders are obviously going to have a premium. If all I could afford was a coupe, I'd still buy a coupe. Dude. The engine sound in that cabin is unbelievable.
I think I still have the Spider, even still with that. But
but I'm saying if there's $100,000 difference and you can't swing it, I wouldn't not buy the coupe. You know what I mean? Like I
I
would
would
still
go
buy the coupe.
for the color I go for, and I want you to flash a photograph of this. I think you have one. The one that went up for auction a number of years back in Amelia Island, the brown one.
Oh yeah, that was great. I'll have to dig
Give me
that up.
that. Give me that. Please dig it up. If not, I'll go find it. That brown
That was great.
Spider. I think it had I think it was a light tan
I
interior
think it was
color.
a manual too, wasn't it?
It might have been a
I think it
manual. I'm
was.
not
I
sure.
think it was a stick.
I think it was a one-off, and I remember it going for an obscene amount of money.
Yeah, at the time.
But even one of those with the F1, even that color with the F1 gearbox, I'll take it.
Yeah, pretty special.
I know controversial. I know manual elitists they'll fillet me. Go ahead.
Yep.
I don't care. I don't care. String me up by my feet like Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't care.
All righty. Well, that about does it for the F430. Stellar car, and I'm really glad that I went back and sampled another one because it was the context that I needed for Ferrari, for understanding Ferrari in the modern context. I needed to get my butt in the seat of one of the cars that really made the magic happen for me, and for a whole generation, quite frankly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I needed that context again because the next car we're talking about, the Ferrari 296, it left me feeling very conflicted. So with that, John, let's talk about the Ferrari 296 that we drove last year. And
let's get into it, man.
Overview. So John, this was your second Ferrari you drove, right? You drove a 488 before then, right?
Yeah. The first Ferrari ever was a 488 at the same place that we did this just a year or so before at Extreme Experience. Same track too. So it was a pretty good kind of back-to-back comparison, although some time had passed, but the 488 sticks in your mind. You know what I mean? It does.
Well, the first Ferrari you drive always sticks in your mind.
Absolutely.
It's just the first time you're sitting in that seat and you look down and you see the yellow prancing horse badge.
Yeah.
There's no feeling like that as a car person. There really isn't.
Every
Every time I drive one still, I always
110%.
take a minute. I'm like, look down. I'm like, enjoy this.
Right. Sure.
Because it's freaking great. But
so we talked about the lineage, right? You got into the lineage before with the 430. So this is where things start to take a turn. Right. You know, for better or for worse, you know, pros and cons. But this car is a hybrid twin turbo V6, 3 liters approximately. And both powertrains are going to the rear wheels, which is honestly really wild. That to me is a little bit crazy.
That's the wildest thing about this car, I think, if I had to pick any of it, is the fact that all of that is like, because the SF90 that came out a little before it was all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But this didn't make quite as much power, but in a lot of ways, people raced them and it was similar in speed and it was rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's probably a little lighter too. Yeah, I mean it's 800 and change.
823, I think, horsepower.
It's 800 and change. It's just nuts, just going through the rear wheels there. Normally, you would think with that sort of a with the math there, you would think, oh, this thing is going to be a handful. It's going to be spinning you around. It's going to be wanting to turn. But really, what I would say is the key component of this car is how confidence inspiring it is. Given that it's got 800 plus horsepower only to the rear, I didn't feel any sort of drama there in terms of whether that was going to spin out on me. Now, granted, we were on a track, but I've seen other reviews. People say the same thing. It's like there's just a lot going on with the computers in this car to keep you planted. You feel like a better driver than what you really are, honestly. That's kind
Ferrari's
of
traction control has always been one of the most advanced traction controls in the industry. They're really good at getting the car to put down the right amount of power that it can use. And I felt that, honestly, going back, I even felt that in the F430 here. Like, you know, one time I like just got on the gas a little bit too much and it didn't cut it. You could feel that it just stopped adding. It stopped adding where it would be too much. It gave me just enough that it could use. And that's a car that's almost 20 years old.
Sure.
So imagine now, you know, like, you know, that's why it's crazy. The other thing I will say that it wasn't as pronounced in this car as it was with the Pista, but I realized it is really pronounced in the Pista, is Ferrari executes their turbocharged cars with boost by gear. So I think there was some of that at play that makes some of the lower gears a little bit more approachable. And that's also why, like, on that straightaway, when you got into fourth, fifth, sixth gear or whatever, like, it
It just
really
keeps
took
going.
off.
Yeah, yeah,
It was like unbelievably fast. And
yeah. It just keeps
I think
going.
there's a little boost by gear going on too in the 2.9.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So we're talking about a dual clutch here
That's right.
versus, previously with the single clutch, super fast transmission. Really just, I mean, dude, I don't know. I mean, I haven't driven the PDK cars surprisingly, but this just felt like a absolute laser. It's just going exactly where you want it.
Well, especially with the electric motor helping, it just there's no intermission.
It doesn't upset the drivetrain at all.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat.
And it's clever how they use the electric. So I believe the electric motor is between the engine and the transmission. So I think it can, because it can run a little bit on EV itself, I think, for a very short range.
Yeah.
But I think that's how that goes. So it's like, it's able to torque fill theoretically while the turbos are spooling, even though I could still kind of feel the lag a little bit, but I'll talk about that in the dynamics setting and the dynamic part. But yeah, I mean, it's a technological tour de force for sure. The 296 is incredible from an engineering standpoint.
For sure. And I love the way it looks. I'll be honest with you. I absolutely love the way it looks. This is a car. I look at the whole lineup and I think to myself, this is more of their entry level, right? I wouldn't say it's like the total entry level now, but it's gorgeous.
It's an entry level mid-engine car.
Right, exactly.
Entry level supercar, I would say.
Yeah. And it's drop dead gorgeous. And in my opinion, it looks better than some of the cars that are more expensive.
Agreed. And so let's, so it's a fun car. We'll since we're talking about the styling, let's get into it.
Sure.
So it's a fun car. 60% is going to be for fun. 40% is going to be for function. So yeah, going into appearance, I couldn't agree more, man. I actually think that the 296 is the best looking modern Ferrari right now. I think hands down. I was a big fan of the Roma and stuff too. Kind of had like classic lines, but this thing has like a 250 LM Dino kind of mix, and it's super clean design, super sexy. Just a departure, because I'll be honest, the F8 and stuff, that was getting a little busy. Like the 458 was gorgeous, and that was also pure, but they kind of just made it messier as they went, and it was cool looking. But man, the 296 that's a really pretty design. So what would you?
They figured it out. They figured out the nuance there, right? It was sort of like, obviously you want these cars to look special, feel special, but they just, you're right. They just got the proportions right.
Yeah.
So for me,
what do you give it? A silver one. What do you give a silver one in terms of the looks?
I think it's a 5 in every color.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I think that shape just makes everything look good. It doesn't matter. Like the 430 we were talking about before, you see that pull up, and that is the definition of a sexy Italian supercar.
And I think what's cool about the 296, which I thought was similar to like how we experienced with the Lotus, in different colors, it kind of takes on different characters. So in a silver or more mundane color, you could almost see this as like a semi daily driver kind of a situation. You could see this, on a cobblestone street, or, I don't know. It just seems like a nice car you could take out to dinner. But then in the brighter colors, you're like, oh, that's back road attack. That's track day. And it does both of them really well.
Absolutely. I mean, it does everything. It's very have your cake and eat it too. And and I think, that's the one aspect of this car that you don't really get when you just drive it on the track. I know from owners and stuff, like, people who drive it, if you live with it in the real world on the street, this car is a superb vehicle.
I believe it.
Like a GT car or something to drive, like on,
I've seen my fair share. I would not blame you guys for your ratings. I wouldn't blame either of you for your ratings, but it's funny. I hate to say it. I'm just looking at the pictures I took, and I think you guys have these of the F8 Tributo that I saw in at the rest stop in Hamilton Township, down by Hamilton.
Yeah.
The Farley. If you guys know what rest I'm talking about, Farley, the one on the expressway. And this was a F8 Tributo. Rosso looks like it's the Corsa red with those switchblade wheels.
Yeah.
Gonna say it looks better than the 296. I think it looks better.
I'm gonna agree to
the only
disagree
reason-
on that one.
We'll agree to
I
disagree there.
I just love the headlights on the older ones. I
Dude,
think
I
on that
mean,
car it looks
I
better.
get what you mean, but like the line, I'm talking purely just the lines of the car.
Right.
That's
The
fair.
296
It does have
is
a
back to the classics, man.
shape.
The
It does have
296
the
is,
shape right.
the
I'll give you
296
that.
could be from the 60s, right?
It's
Whereas
got
the
elements there.
F8
Yeah.
Tributo is very much a modern car, and it looks good, but it's not clean. This thing is clean, dude.
I'll grant you that. It is. I'll grant you that it's a cleaner look.
It's like literally a 250 LM. Like
Yeah.
it's that era of style. Like it's that
Ow.
clean. And your bird just bitchy. Yeah, see, Enzo thinks you're crazy too, bro.
He's with us. Yeah, he's with
Enzo
us.
likes 296s.
They look
Yeah,
really
he
good in
does.
green now. I know you're a
Oh
green
my
guy.
god, they look great.
They look good in green,
Yeah.
man.
I will
So
say
does
one of
he.
my weaknesses is green
Look,
Ferraris
what you made
and
it. He's
interior.
hiding now.
Or red interior.
For sure.
Now he's in. You're saying that because he got red in his belly, aren't you?
Yeah, well there you go. Well, no, I was thinking about the Christmas 550 we saw.
See, look, is that red in his
Yeah.
belly? See.
But anyway, all right, so now we got to move on to sound.
Oh,
Sound.
here we go.
And here
All right.
it starts to go off the rails.
This is where it's conflicting, man.
This is where it starts to go off the rails for Nick. So like,
Were you ever on the rails?
we've
bro?
all seen the videos before we drove this car. We've seen people's reviews, and the sound of the V6 itself, the tone is good, right? It still changes its octave and everything like that. It's got a musical engine note, and it actually kind of has a reminiscent a little bit of the V12s. What you don't get is how quiet that note is in person. And so what I realized is this car just, like, even in the cabin, like where this car shines, where you can hear the engine, is kind of at normal road speeds, up to like normal road speed, up to like 60 or 70 miles an hour. You can hear the engine pretty good in the cabin, right? Now we drove with the windows down, right? So the wind noise, if you're in a Spider or if you have the windows down, the wind noise above 60 miles an hour, that engine noise starts to get drowned out pretty quickly.
Really, so over lime green. Roll out of gas. Up to lime green, roll out of gas. Right to the yellow. Go ahead, right into the yellow.
It's just not that loud. And we drove the Z06 right before this with the windows down. That didn't happen in the Z06. The Z06 had that like surround you kind of thing. So
For sure.
we had context. This thing was genuinely quiet once you got going at speed. Now, if you have the windows up, I'm sure it lasts a bit longer, maybe 100 miles an hour or so before the road speed, before the road noise takes over. But I think the big nail in the coffin for it was when we went after our drive. We stood on the main straight where people were going wide open throttle, and you couldn't even hear it from like 60 feet away.
That's embarrassing.
You literally, like the car, you heard the tires. You couldn't hear the engine, basically.
Yeah, you heard a
we'll
little
play
bit of the
it, we'll play
turbo. It wasn't.
Yeah, you heard a little turbo spool, maybe, but it was mostly tire noise. And like
Tires
hearing
and brakes,
GT3s and Huracans going by with it, it's like, dude, it's not even the same category.
Yeah, it's challenging, man. Because like you said, the tone is great. People call it a baby V12.
Yeah.
That's what they kind of call it. It's got a really nice tone, and I'm conflicted on that too, because I think
That is quite
there's
bothersome.
maybe what could it be? You drive this car, you think to yourself, what could this be? And I think it is possible that with the right exhaust, this could be an exceptional sound. That's really unique to its own.
I mean, I've heard in videos and real life a couple like that did have exhaust on it, right? And if you the big problem here is the OPF filters, right? So you have cats and then you have particulate filters. I am personally on a personal crusade against particulate filters in cars. It's so unnecessary. Cats were fine. I've never deleted a cat in my entire life. I've always run high flow cats, or I've never deleted a monitored cat in my entire life. I've deleted secondaries, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the guy that runs test pipes, but dude, this OPF shit is way too far. Like, you are just making these glorious cars sound like nothing. I heard the guy left at Tony's show in an SF90XX with the V8, floored it. You could literally barely hear it a few feet away. It was terrible. So yes, companies sell, the OPF delete exhaust, the high flow cats. You got to do that to one of these. And yeah, that helps fix the tone a lot. And then it sounds pretty good because the V6 has a nice exotic sound to it. But we drove a stock car. And I will say, a lot of the people on the forums and on Reddit who are like, oh, the car sounds great. You can sort of just tell the way they're driving, the way they talk, right? This person drives around at the speed limit a lot. If you're out there really driving this thing at speed, the noise goes away pretty quickly. And I'm sorry, that's the experience I had actually driving the car. For me, it's a 2. It's a 2 in terms of sound. What do you think? What'd you give it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I kind of also compared this to the Maseratis that we've driven recently,
right?
Which has a very similar engine configuration. Some might say there's some shared componentry there. Others may deny that.
Ferrari,
however, I really liked the way that car sounded. It idled nicely. It had a cool rumble to it when you started it up.
Yeah, when they started it up, it was pretty loud. Which is why I was shocked that it made no sound at wide open throttle on the straight. Like from when we were standing outside, because we heard it start. Remember when they started? We were like 200 feet away and we heard it start.
It's got a lot of pressure. Really, I think that's what it is. It's got a lot of pressure. It's possible if they revved it, without any sort of wind or tire noise, that maybe it would sound pretty good. But
like under load in motion, it didn't.
It's getting drowned out by.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how you get one without the other. I just have no idea.
Yeah. So I love the tone, but I agree with you. It's not loud enough. I was going to give it a 3 because I really did like the tone. I honestly think the tone is outstanding, but maybe if we ran it with the windows up, I would have felt differently. Windows down took a lot,
This comes down. So remember with Maserati, you're like context, right? Is it right for what it is? This is a supercar, John.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about some polite GT car here, bro. This is a supercar.
It needs to have the character.
All right, I'll go down then, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the context of what it is.
Yeah. See, look, guys, Enzo was so upset that he went back to his cage.
He pooped all over your shoulder, bro.
I'm well aware of that. You know what we call that, Nick? Job-related hazard.
Ooh, there you go.
So let's go. Let's agree to the 2. I think you're right, man. I mean, I don't think this car would even, like, if you drove this through a town, I don't think it would really turn heads based on the sound. Looks wise, for sure.
Yeah, looks wise.
But if you didn't see it, you probably would not.
Not without an exhaust. It needs an exhaust desperately. Hit up Novatec, Capristo, whoever. Just ditch those damn OPF filters, people. Please, if you're watching this, just ditch them. You don't need them. I know it. You figure out the computer side, but just ditch them. Get rid of it. Life's too short to drive around with particulate filters. God damn it. Fucking European Union. All right. Moving on. So moving on to driving engagement. Now, this area is where the 296, like, in many ways really shines. I got to be honest, like, dynamically from like a chassis steering standpoint, everything like that, the handling, the way it, like you said before, the way this car deploys 800 plus horsepower and rear wheel drive in a pretty light package. This is one of the best cars I've ever driven, period, from a dynamic standpoint. It was, remember, we got out of the Z06 and this thing made the Z06's steering feel dull.
Yes,
like it was
exactly.
Razor sharp. Yeah. It took me like at least a half a lap to calibrate to how much sharper the steering was. Even the Z06, which is like super sharp. So like this thing, it's pretty unbelievable what Ferrari's done with it, the handling and just the total package, how freaking fast it is, and like just the sheer speed that this car accelerates to. I mean, we've each driven a 488 at this track. This car is doing about 10 miles an hour faster than a 488 down the same straightaway. The 488's like about like 145 or so, give or take. These are at like mid 150s. which is wild.
Yeah.
And somebody before me had hit 160 in this one. Maybe one of the instructors, they braked a little later or something like that. But somebody had hit 160, which is, nuts if you think about it. But like down the main straight at Lightning, it's a really fast car.
All gas, to the yellow. Quick, right.
Wow, that thing is unbelievably
Told you, so fast.
God, wow. So
Yeah,
I gave it a 5 myself for dynamics, but a little more to talk about after you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I think, like I said, it was confidence inspiring. It's the way that you can just get in this thing, and it's just it sort of levels you up in a way, and in a way that's very approachable, surprisingly, because the Z06 was a little bit scary, and that's fun in another kind of a way.
Yeah,
That's kind of got its own sort of engaging factor to it, which this lacks in a way where it feels very composed. But for doing its job of a fast car to get around tracks and to, drive confidently, 5, definitely.
and it's very livable. It's got that kind of performance, but it's very livable. And I think that's what separates it. The Z06, you're right. Like, it's a little more hardcore, a little more like He-Man kind of thing. Whereas this thing is like approachable, but it's so effective. It's so fast. Like, oh my God, crazy. All right. So so you give it a 5?
Yeah, that's a 5.
All right. So there's our raw scores there. Now we'll get to the extras where I have a little bit more to say about how it drives. All right. So we're each at 12 out of 15. Extra points. Well, I guess there is some points because we didn't do the sound. I give it an extra for the color because it was red. But it was like a nice red. It wasn't like super bright. It was like a kind of a classy red, but a nice red. But then I got to take off a point, and this is kind of from the dynamic side, and this is a nitpick, but I got to explain what I mean. So going back to the 430, what I talked about, where every aspect of the Ferrari connects directly to your brainstem, you are totally in sync with the car in every single way. Everywhere you engage with the car, it's like an extension of your limbs, right? Moving it around the track just feels like, you have to do the same mental power as moving your arms, right? It's literally, you just think your way around it. The 296 absolutely has that in the chassis, the steering, the braking. Where it lacks that is the powertrain. And I say that now with full context, having driven a Pista, which had that with turbocharger. So it's not the turbocharger. It is the electric motor that causes this problem. What I experienced in this car was that theoretically the electric motor is supposed to supply enough torque that the car basically doesn't feel turbocharged, right? It's going to supply the torque while the turbos are spooling up, and then by the time by the time it's out of steam, but we are at full boost, and theoretically you're not supposed to even notice it's turbocharged. That's not really how it feels. The way it feels is you're still waiting for boost, but you're accelerating more while you have the sensation of building boost. In a normal turbo car, you have an idea of like, oh, and again, maybe if you spend more time, you get used to this driving the car, right? We only drove for a few laps, but to me, it added about 10 miles an hour that I wasn't aware that it added from the electric motor while it was spooling. And then you still get full boost, but you're basically disoriented by the extra power from the electric motor. It doesn't communicate it, right? So in a 430, if it adds a little bit of power, you get an octave change, you get a little bit, the car tells you it's doing that. With the e-motor, the car doesn't tell you it's doing that. You still feel like you're waiting for the turbos to spool, but it's actually accelerating more than you think it is. And it's not telling you about it. There's a disconnect between the powertrain, between your input, the powertrain, and the feedback that it gives you. And as a result, I found myself multiple times, especially on the first lap, disoriented in that car. I was going about 10 miles an hour faster at a certain turns than I thought I was. And it's because the car was gaining more speed when I felt like, when I could feel that it was still building boost. I don't like that. The Pista, on the other hand, not that way. It's turbocharged, but again, you feel it build and boost. It's build and boost. It's not doing anything it's not telling you about. This, the e-motor, the same as an EV, you get disoriented because there's no sensation, there's no feedback from an electric motor as to how much power it's giving you or how much speed it's giving you.
I feel like other EVs would probably have the same problem.
Yeah, they do.
Track.
Absolutely. You have no idea.
The fact that this is a Ferrari makes that effect way, way more dangerous.
Well, it's sneakier, I would say, because in an EV, it's all the power, right? Like you're in a Plaid and you're like, oh, I think I'm going 90. Oh shit, I'm going 140. It's not like that really. What's annoying about this is and I'm talking minutia here. This is literally in the few moments where the turbos are spooling up. Once you're on full power, it's full power, right? All systems are go. But it's while you're tipping into it and getting the turbos spooled that it's adding more speed sneakily without telling you, and then the turbos spool, right? So it's like there's just this disconnect, but it's in that small time frame as the turbos are spooling, because the turbos do spool pretty quick, but it's in those moments, those small moments there where there's a disconnect between you and the car. And for me in a Ferrari, look, the sound you can fix. Do an exhaust, get rid of the OPFs. This is integral to how the car is. It's something that kind of, I don't know, it sort of ruins the magic. It ruins that sense of connection, right? That I loved so much in so many of the other Ferraris I've driven. It's like, I don't know if I could get past it. It's minutia. If you drive it on the street, it might not be as obvious. It's something that, really is noticeable on the track when you're going a bit faster. Especially like through into turns and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, man. I just, for me, it's a big deal. And I'm only taking 1 point off, but for me, it's kind of it's almost a deal breaker. You know what I mean?
So you added a point and removed one.
Yep. And so that's a net 0 there. So it's a 12 out of 15. What about you? Any points to add or subtract?
I kind of wanted to add a point just for the steering feel, but I don't think I will. But I do want to reiterate how special that was. I felt like I knew sharp steering until, I drove this car. And I think it's even sharper than the 488.
Dude, I couldn't believe after getting out of the Z06, because the Z06 is sharp.
Yeah.
It's not like that's some like lazy thing. Like that was super sharp. And to get into this and to have to kind of recalibrate. Whoa.
All right, I'm giving an extra point for that.
Give it an extra point.
I'm doing it. Let's do it.
Dude, from what I hear, Ferrari, this new steering from Ferrari, they actually have their own patent for this design. So this is something that
in this specific car,
Luce is probably going to have a derivative of, right?
Okay, wow.
Some type of thing. But yeah, this is Ferrari's own patented steering.
Whatever they did, it's good. I'm telling you.
Pretty nuts. All right, so that brings us to our scores. I'm at a 48 out of 60, and John, you're at a 52 out of 60. Moving on to the function. All right, so we'll move through this quickly. Function is a modern supercar. It's very livable, easy to drive around, in addition to being brutally fast and dynamically exciting. 5 out of 5. I think for sure for me.
I'm curious what the fuel economy in this is, because I bet it's pretty darn good. I kind of want to look that up because historically speaking, these cars were, all V8s and above that V12s.
And they drank like hell.
Yeah, this being a twin turbo 6 with hybrid,
the F430
it's probably
typically
fairly decent.
I'm going to do you that favor.
47 mpge. Whatever the hell
they're averaging. That's
actually that's not bad for a supercar.
7 miles of electric only range.
No shit, Sherlock.
What's the average MPG like people are getting?
Here, let me see.
This is the 296 GTB, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it could be in the low 20s. It could be like 20.
On gasoline, you're looking at combined 18.
Yeah,
Using the EPA's measurements.
It's a high.
That's pretty good.
What I'm actually quite impressed with is the fact that this thing
pretty
still
good
has
Ferrari with 800 horsepower, 18.
17.8 gallon tank, so it's not a thimble by any means.
No.
and it'll actually do if you're careful, which in a Ferrari I don't know why the hell you would be. You could break 300. You could get 350 miles on a tank in this thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you
what
could
that
road trip
means
this thing for sure.
you could drive this thing to New York, from New York to Annapolis and back if you
Oh
want
yeah,
to.
you could easily road. I mean, I think this thing has a lot of GT characteristics. I wouldn't call it a
Yeah.
GT car because it's very much a supercar, but
Oh yeah.
it has a lot of GT characteristics. Very livable, ergonomic design, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a genuinely comfortable place to be.
I like that it's actually not
Little blind.
overly boisterous. It actually fits into a lot of scenarios as well. Like it looks like an art piece that you're driving around,
Yeah.
which I think it's sort of like
It's very beautiful.
some of the previous cars, you needed a certain type of personality to own. And I think this could sort of blend with more personality. So people who are a little more low key, which I
Yeah,
think is
it's
also
you're right. It's not as boisterous of a design. It would work for someone who's a little more soft spoken if they get like a gray over burgundy interior or some classier spec. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily give off the peacock energy. It doesn't have
Exactly. You can kind of go either way with it, which is like kind of like what we were saying before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, functionally, I think it's excellent.
5.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So quality. I mean, I think just on quality, build quality and whatnot alone, like, I mean, this car would be a 5 all day long. However, this car, I got to take off, and I'm only going to take off 1 point. I probably should take off more, but the build, the rest of the build quality and ergonomics of this car are so good that I'm only taking off 1 point for this. But these cars have been having problems, man, with the hybrid system. And it's like, I mean, they're having problems brand new, dude. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? You think that's going to get better in time? Like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, if the cars are having problems and we're like straight out of the showroom, like, what do you think is going to be like in 8 or 9 years when you're looking at them secondhand? Like, come on. So, like, it's having finicky issues with the hybrid system and reliability. And like, I don't know, man. It just begs the question. Like, I know they're talking about the potential of a non-hybrid 296 model. Bring it on, please. Oh my God. Like, the hybrid system, it's interesting. It's a technological tour de force, but like, it just comes with a lot of bullshit that I don't like, both from like the dynamic standpoint, but also from a reliability standpoint. It's like, it's one thing to have the system, but if it's gonna like break, forget it, dude. Who needs
Last summer, when you first told me about the powertrain in this and the fact it was hybrid and Italian, first thing going through my brain was and the second word was shit.
Yeah. And like, I think a lot of it's like, I think there was a survey done, like a lot of Ferrari owners of SF90s and 296s, like they're supposed to plug the cars in. A lot of them don't. Most of them don't. And then the car sits for a while and then they go drive the ass off it, or a lot of them go try to start it and then it says go to the dealer. There's just been a lot of finicky issues, and I don't know, man. My attitude with technology is that if it really only causes more problems, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? It should be a net benefit, and if it's not a net benefit, forget it, because you're just adding weight and complexity.
Yeah,
It doesn't really help anybody.
I'm with you on that. We almost actually didn't get to drive this car because of that.
Yeah, it's true.
So
We were the only ones that morning that got to drive it, basically, until we left. There was
yeah,
a couple more people, but literally, me and John drove it, and then they went and parked it. It had to get reset or whatever, and they went and parked it.
Heat.
I think a lot of it had to do
low
with the heat,
battery.
but also
Yeah,
just-
Oi.
yeah, it was
It's
toast.
a lot hotter.
So, what do you think quality wise?
Must have been in the 90s for you,
You
maybe even the hundreds.
the interior is really nice. We didn't really get to spend a lot of time looking at it because we're going 100+ mile an hour, down the track. But looking back later at the footage, there's, it's got the prancing horse in the headrests in yellow. It's got some carbon fiber accents. And I'm assuming this would be kind of a base level car because of what they're using it for. They're using it for, renting it out and using it for track use. So I'm assuming you could
wasn't
also,
a lot of carbon options or anything like that.
I think it had the carbon steering wheel.
Oh, the steering wheel. Yeah. No, I meant like on the exterior, because I think
No,
they
not
know
on the
people- They know
exterior.
people are going to clip curbs with it and stuff, and it's like, that's real expensive if that clips like the lip or something like that.
No, they weren't going for that. But I think but like I said, it's sort of a base model of this car, and it looked really nice. I think I remember the seats felt really good. They hugged you well, and I was comfortable in there. I actually think I was more comfortable in this car than the Corvette. Oddly enough, I think the Corvette felt a little bit squeezed.
Yeah,
and that could be just because of
Agreed.
the helmet and stuff. But I think this was actually a little more comfortable.
I agree. I just felt like you're right. The with the doors closed, the Vet was a little tighter of like a cockpit than this is a more open, and that's true of the 488 too, and all those. Like they have a pretty open interior.
Yeah, it's surprisingly livable, right? So that's more of like, the different use cases. So I'll go with the 4 as well. I think it's hard to know. It's hard to knock it reliability wise because we don't know if they're supposed to be plugged in and they're not plugging them in. And obviously this is an extreme scenario of a very hot day and, track use, but I'm with you. I think that does have to be corrected.
I just know from like my being in the industry, how many customers have had problems with them.
Yeah.
Just like in their garage and stuff. It's just like,
if
they're having these problems when they're brand new, dude, just wait. You know what I mean? And that brings us to the value. So the value, as a result of a lot of that hybrid nonsense that's causing problems, the values on these cars have tanked. These are cars that were, basically base price in the 3s, but most of them really sold in like the 4s or even low, like mid 5s.
They're cheap, but not for a good reason.
And now they're dipping into the high 2s in the residuals. And people are, I don't know, man. You have people taking 6-figure losses in a market that has not been used to a car doing that, right? Most Ferraris up until this and the SF90 held their value really, really well. And, so I think the effect on this is pretty catastrophic. These cars are sitting on dealerships, lots in a lot of places. They're having trouble moving them. And that's because the word on the depreciation and the problems has gotten out. And I think also just, again, the sound, the experience, people drive this and, they test drove and they kept their F8 or they kept their Pista or whatever. Or they kept their 488s or whatever. They kept their previous models after they drove this because they're just like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's faster, but a 488 is already like stupidly fast. And it's like you get more speed, but you lose some of that experience, some of that sense of connection. And then you also have problems on top of that with the stupid hybrid system that nobody really wanted to begin with. So like, yeah, it makes it faster, torque fill or whatever, but it's like, I just think it takes away more than it adds on all fronts, including reliability. And that's killed the value of these cars. And I got to be honest, I think even if we're reviewing this at a car that's around 300 grand or high 2s, I still think these cars could lose another 50% in value in the next few years because these problems, like I said, these problems were all from brand new. You think that's going to get better with time? Absolutely not.
And Nick, just for clarity, the 296 has been on the market for how long now?
I think since 2023, maybe 22.
So what that tells me is if they've been on the market for 4 years and these issues are already in play and these issues are here, then I have to ask, has Ferrari made an effort to fix these issues?
Oh, I'm sure they're doing software updates and things like that, but it's just like, dude, like
But
in the end of the
damage
day,
is already done.
It's just a complicated system.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day,
it's already hurt the value of the product.
It's a complicated system that's going to have problems that a car that didn't have it wouldn't have.
No, I don't disagree with you. And I want to make it clear, something you may or may not have pointed out. I swear I was listening.
Yeah.
These are worth because of these issues. I was checking this earlier. The 296, in spite of the fact, you figure naturally in a perfect world that the new model is going to be worth more than the old model of anything. Right now, that's not the case with the 296.
Yeah.
The 488 and the 458, I see them. I looked secondary. I looked around, a couple days ago. It's more money to get a pre-owned 458 Italia right now.
Oh yeah, 458
than a 296.
Yeah,
and a 488 and the F8 Tribute.
488s they're starting to cross into 488 territory. The 488 market still dips a lot lower than the 296 market, but I think they're going to be crossing. I don't think long term
less than a year it's going to cross
more than 488s. right? I think
No,
these
they're
are
going to
going
be
to be worth
less.
less because they're way more complicated like that.
Right. These are going to fall into a bad situation.
So I've seen questions on Reddit and stuff, people that are thinking about buying one of these because look, it's a really enticing car. It's a current model Ferrari that you can get under 300 grand. Like that's really enticing for people in this market. But I tell the people, I'm like, look, man, they're like, this has to be the bottom, right? I'm like, no, this could lose another 50% easily.
In that case, I'd rather have a Roma.
Yeah, or look, if you want the V6 thing, get the MC20.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Get the
V6,
Nettuno.
similar
The
type of
Nettuno is
experience
so
without,
good.
you know, not quite as much power, but without the problems, you know? And it has cooler doors, you know?
It is
And
kind
it's
of
cheaper.
scary.
And those are like 180, dude. those
are nice.
It is,
I
it
think
is actually.
that's the
those are
underrated
getting
supercar.
dangerously
Yeah.
cheap.
That's the underrated
It is
supercar right now.
kind of
It really
hilarious to me. Just as an aside, it's amusing to say Maserati and better quality in the same sentence without like cracking a dumb smile. But that's the truth right now because
Well, mechanics.
this hybrid system is it's an issue. It is an issue. It's something
Maserati
that
is
you
definitely
can't get
not
away
better
from.
build, like fit and finish than this. This thing is beautiful, the ergonomic, like everything else about
Yeah,
it.
but mechanically,
Purely
the
just the
Nettuno is a more
hybrid system
proven.
versus not.
The Nettuno V6 for at least so far has proven to be a more dependable setup than whatever the 296 seems to be trotting out of the barn. And all I can say is this: listen, I love me a prancing horse, but I think this one's got a bum leg.
Well, and that's kind of the thing, right? So
Yeah.
either way,
Sorry, Thunder, we got to put you down.
I said all that to say this. I gave it a 2 in terms of value. This is a
Ouch. That's brutal.
pretty low score in terms of the value.
That's
Because
one
I
of the
think,
lowest value scores I've seen you give anything.
well, look, man, these started high.
earned it.
They've already fallen very far. They've already fallen 200 or 300 grand from where they started, depending on your options. And you know, a lot of people are in danger of thinking this is the bottom. But these aren't going to be worth more than 488s long term. So you look at where the 488s are and recognize at any given point these are going to settle below that, and probably below 430s eventually. Like this is not going to be a valuable car long term because it's so complicated from a technological standpoint, and you're going to have to service that. It just do the math, right? This car's going to settle in the ones. I'm 99% sure. I don't know what world events would happen that would make this ever shoot back up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just complicated. And yeah.
I mean, these kind of cars, you know, historically speaking, they do dip initially, right? They do usually dip initially, and then there's a rebound. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm with you. I think if there are, you know, complications. I mean, no one really buys these cars for the reliability, but that being said, you do want to use it, right? You do want to enjoy it. So
the lower it gets, right, the harder it is to service because the servicing is, you know, again, like why is a Phaeton W12 so cheap? It's not because it's not awesome. It's because it's really expensive to service. High servicing costs as cars drop in value, that's what causes them to really plummet. Now, I don't
that's a car on my list. Man,
dude, yeah. I'm not necessarily saying that this car is gonna be like 50 grand or less or anything like that, but I do think that these are gonna settle in the mid ones.
I think if they could figure out, like right now, there is an issue, okay, at least that we experienced, right? And you've noticed it with other customers.
It's pretty wide.
If they can figure it out, you know, if there does become a long-term solution, then I could see this being corrected. But as it is right now,
the hybrid system.
Well, no, I don't know.
Without it,
I'll match it too.
Well, yeah, finish. You're matching me at 2.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go.
Yeah.
Let's see. So that brings us. All right. So extra points wise, I did give it some extra points in terms of the function. I gave it 1 extra point. I gave it 1 extra point in terms of function, and that's because of the comfort side of it. It's very comfortable. It's very usable. In a way, you know, again, a very approachable car in a way that, you know, some Ferraris have been, but I think this one's extra livable, shall we say, for a mid-engine Ferrari. And I think that has a lot of real world appeal, especially when you listen to owners, you know, that live with the car who aren't going, you know, hugely fast all the time. Like it's a very, very livable car. easy to cruise, and stupid fast when you get the chance to open it up. So it's very do everything car, and I think it's just really, really well executed in a lot of those ways. It's unfortunate that it has some of the drawbacks that it does, but here's the thing, right? It has some drawbacks, but everything else is 100%. Right. This car is a phenomenally executed car in so many ways, but it's just there's a few things that are lacking that may be a little bit fundamental. But all right, so that brings my total to a 12 out of 15 for the function side. That's a 32 out of 40. What'd you give it? Any extra points?
Yeah, I was going to give it an extra functionally, just on a day-to-day driving basis, that it's just very compliant. Like we've driven it on a racetrack, and I would assume that sort of compliance would apply to the road as well, in terms of how it puts power down and just how it is to live with, right? In the rain or in different sorts of weather. Obviously, this isn't a car you want to drive all season, but you know, if you go out to dinner and it's a pouring rain night, it's not going to be a nightmare driving this thing home. You know, I think I have some confidence in the ESC of this car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a major function point too, right? You know, we address that in sort of the driving dynamics, but it also applies to just your day-to-day use.
Yeah, that's absolutely a practical aspect. You know, like you don't want to be terrified driving home from dinner with your lady, right? You want to be able to just be chill sometimes, and this does that. So that brings our total scores. All right, so my total score was an 80 out of 100. And John, your total score was an 84 out of 100. So,
all right, good.
A decent score.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the kind of money this costs, you know, like I said, that F430 we just did was a 95. This car is very,
and that's
very
a lot. That's a 20-year-older vehicle, by the way.
Well, age is just a number, man.
Age is just a number when it comes.
Careful where you say that. Yeah.
When it comes to the purpose of the car and the experience it delivers, and the value for money and stuff like that, I mean, just goes to show you, man, newer is not always better. And that brings us to the last part of this topic, and that's the direction that we feel Ferrari's going. You know, all right. So, Al, what are your thoughts on this? You seem like you're chomping at the bit to talk about this.
How do I say this? I understand what Ferrari's trying to do, and this goes back all the way back to the beginning of our discussion with the Luce, and it's that they have to build these vehicles with the EV architecture. They have to make these BEVs in order for us to continue having the good stuff, the stuff that we all love, the V12s. The cars with the Roma and the Roma's replacement that's coming within a few. I think it's going to be on sale in the US in 6 months. Should be here soon. Amalfi, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Again, it's getting late over here. It's getting late. It's getting late. Yeah, it's getting very late, and I'm on my second.
Well, you're just sitting there guzzling wine while me and John were talking about this 296.
I mean, actually, I wasn't, but this is only my second glass the whole time I've been doing this. The way I see it, the Luce is a necessary evil. I think that the brand is actually positioned to do well in the future. I looked at their production numbers a couple of days ago, and they broke 13,000 units, both 2025 and 2024, which is very, very high for them. That's a lot of cars for Ferrari. For them to make more than 10,000 units in a year is a lot. So we want them to be successful. We want them to keep going, and you kind of have to take the good with the bad. That's what I realized over the last few days, understanding that you got to live with the Luce. It's going to be, it's like it's the Poindexter in the room. It's the one that's going to have the pocket. To me, it's the pocket protector, glasses taped together nerd. I mean, be there. What are you gonna do? But it's not the worst thing ever. If they didn't exist, we'd all be pissed. If the brand itself was not around.
That's true.
We'd all be, we'd all be lighting our torches at the Italian government saying, "What the fuck have you done?" And they would deserve it too. So yeah, Ferrari is some of their practices these days, especially the whole, they've always kind of extruded the, and I may be using the wrong word, maybe it is executed. The If you guys have ever watched the early SNL episodes, when Chevy Chase was on there after he spun off and got the Chevy Chase show. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ferrari, and you're not. That's how they are.
Yeah.
That's how they'll always be. I think, John, you know exactly what I'm referring to. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not. They can get away with that.
They can.
It's hubris. Porsche does the same thing. Let's be very
Porsche
clear
has
here.
started to do the same thing, but
They've been
Ferrari's
doing it
the
for a while with
OG.
the GT2,
Ferrari-
GT3
Ferrari's
series for a
the-
long time.
Ferrari's the OG of doing that. I mean,
No, they
literally,
have
that
been.
was Enzo's personality.
Yeah.
The entire
He-
time that was him.
It was exactly how it was.
Yeah.
And it's also why there's an equal and increasing amount of people in the upper echelon of the world, Mr. Leno included, as we all know, who will not play their game.
Yeah.
And I think there may eventually come a time where it catches up to them, but it may be long after all three of us are gone.
Honestly, I was telling Gab the other day, we were just talking about whatever, and I told her when all this was happening, I said, look, I don't care if we ever are like billionaires. I will probably never buy a brand new Ferrari because I would never play this game. I would have a lot of used Ferraris. I love the brands. Here's the thing. I love the brand. I love the cars. I love the racing, but I just don't have any tolerance for this kind of bullshit that they base their business
for
on.
the egotistical.
I have no time for people like that.
Yeah.
I have no time to be treated like that. I will pay a markup and buy a used one. I do not care. You know what I'm saying? Just literally, I can't. I would never deal with that.
Yeah.
But that's me personally. That's not a lot of people, right? A lot of people want to play that game. They want to pull out their dick and measure dicks with everybody else. It's all about that, right? I literally don't have time in my life to worry about that shit with people.
Yeah.
I just want to drive the cars. My ideal time to drive these cars is at like 5 a.m. on a back road with nobody around. I don't care if people see me or not. I want to drive the car. That's what I'm in it for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I literally don't care about the other bullshit. But that brings me to where Ferrari's going here is you got to kind of understand like the context of Ferrari as a brand right now is, you know, where they was, you know, when Enzo was around, they were a racing brand that sold road cars to fund their race cars.
Now they're a lifestyle brand.
They slowly become more, you know, they became more of like a consumer car brand that also raced. And then now, honestly, now they're more of a high fashion brand, like, you know,
they're a lifestyle
or like
brand
Louis Vuitton. They're like really high fashion brand now. And they're a really high fashion brand now. And yes, it's still
the racing team stinks these days.
Cars. They won Le Mans the last few years. So they have.
I'm talking about F1.
No, yeah, I know F1's been rough, but look, hey, I want to see Lewis win his 8th in red. I really do. Genuinely, I want to see Lewis win in red. But yes, I mean, like overall, what do most people would recognize Ferrari from the sport of motorsport, right? But you know, also it's as a fashion brand, they sell a lot of jeans, they sell a lot of jackets, they sell sunglasses, they sell a huge amount of merch. They sell more merch than cars, I think. You know what I mean? Like it's literally a fashion brand.
They absolutely do.
And so as a result, you kind of have
and that transition for them has been going on for a number of years.
So I say there's really 3 different types at this point of Ferrari customers, and it's not evenly split at all. There's the classic car enthusiast. There's the brand people that are essentially wearing the car, and there's the money people that are in it for financial reasons, either to preserve money or make money. And look, all Ferrari customers are a mix of the 3. I'm not saying everybody fits into one group, but I think everybody has one that is their primary, and they're a little less in the other 2, right? And so, you know, again, and I will say this, I think at this point, the enthusiast crowd is maybe 20% of the company. Maybe 20% of new Ferrari buyers are car enthusiasts. There's a whole lot of people driving around in Ferraris that have no idea what engine's under the hood. There's a whole bunch of them. They're literally just wearing the car. They have no idea what goes into it. They're not about driving like high performance. They might go fast on the highway or something, but they're not car enthusiasts, right? There's a maybe, like I said, maybe 20% at this point of new Ferrari buyers are genuine car enthusiasts. So you got the brand people that, it's about appearances, it's about, being wealthy and status,
Influencers
or
and
it's
all
like,
that.
well, influencers is one thing, but it's also like, if you manage like a financial fund and you're going to go meet with clients, you pull up in a new Ferrari, it's a symbol that your success, and they should put their money with you, right? There are some tools to this, right? It's not just, ego, right? A Ferrari is a tool. It's also networking. If you're in the Ferrari club, you get to go to Ferrari club events and you network with other wealthy people and you make shit happen. So there's a lot of good reasons to have a Ferrari if you're not a car enthusiast. And then lastly is the money people, right? There's the speculators, the outright speculators, but there's also the people that are, playing the allocation game, right? If you can get, you might have to buy a couple Romas, you get a Luce, you get other things, but then every now and then you get one of the limited cars, and that really adds to your net worth, because you might spend $1 million or whatever, and the car winds up being worth 3 or 4 million. And again, I'm not saying that guys are necessarily flipping it, but these guys love to take, loans against their assets, or just in general, just let their assets accumulate, right? That's what these guys are all about. So if you play their game, you're going to lose money on things like the Luce, right? You might lose $400,000 on that, but that's going to help you get an allocation to a car you're going to make millions on paper, right? And these guys are all about asset, it's an asset class at this point, financial assets. So, again, it's not only about enthusiasm. And I think people have to realize that. It's like people just think it's like, oh, it's a fast sports car. Everybody who drives one must be a car enthusiast. Al, remember that guy that rolled up in the Enzo in Greenwich and he didn't even know the concourse was going on?
Yeah, the black one. Yeah, that was funny.
And I'm not necessarily saying,
car, like, holy shit, a black Enzo. Guy gets here like, here for the concourse, like, what's that?
Yeah, he's like, what's that? And look, I'm not necessarily saying he's not a car enthusiast because he's driving a fucking Enzo. Like, the Enzo doesn't have an automatic mode, right? The Enzo,
but he's not there.
You got to be on your shit driving Enzo.
No, it's of course. But Nick, the point is, he wasn't there for the car event. He was there literally to take his wife to dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
And he decided, shall we take the Enzo? I bet you the Greenwich Concours was not even on his calendar that weekend. I bet he had 1,000 other things to think about that weren't that.
My guess is, in hindsight, he was probably having his car serviced at Miller, and he probably just picked it up.
Could have been, but it was pretty late in the day.
It was. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? The last thing I want to bring up with it is the thing I am worried about with Ferrari is not the Luce. The Luce represents the company going in a direction I don't necessarily entirely agree with, even though I am coming around to their line of thought. If they're going to go in the Gucci sort of business model or whatever, it's definitely a car you can wear around. The car I have the biggest problem with, and I'm not going to go too far into this because we've talked about it before, but is what they did with the F80 and what they're doing with, the other hybrid stuff. Like, again, we just talked about the 296, the problems with the hybrid system in comparison to the experience that Ferraris were known for. That crazy connection. The F80, and also it's their business model, right? The F80 is, frankly, in a lot of ways, is kind of lackluster as what is supposed to be the ultimate Ferrari. It's kind of disappointing. Like, nobody's a kid and, thinking about, oh, what's my dream Ferrari? A hybrid quiet V6. That's nobody's idea of like their ultimate Ferrari. And that's what they brought out. And yeah, I know it's the 499P engine and stuff, but like, just frankly, and I'm not even a hater on the looks, whatever. I actually like the way it looks, but it just isn't the experience. Following the LaFerrari and how crazy that was. This car, if you look at the whole lineage of those cars, F40, F50, Enzo, 288, this car does not have the timeless appeal that all of its predecessors have. It just doesn't. And what I've been saying, I got a lot of flaming for my views on the value. I said it's going to drop in half. Look, I stand by that. And I think what I would really want to peg it at is F80s long term are going to be worth less than F40s. The F40 is a much, much more sought after, timeless experience, and you can peg it. It's never going to be like cheap, but it is going to be worth less than F40s. So that's what I will say there. But the problem is Ferrari making a lackluster hypercar that's received in that kind of a way is that it threatens their business model. The Luce works because they can dangle the special cars like the F80 and the Icona cars in front of their customers, and they say, look,
But if the F80 isn't good enough to justify that,
yes. And
you
that's
are going
the
to have a
problem,
problem,
you know,
because
look,
then
one
the
blunder,
pantomime starts to fall apart.
yeah, one blunder isn't going to knock the whole thing down. But, you know, look, and I get
Right.
it. Some of it's regulations, some of it's like that. But, like, look, if Ferrari cannot deliver cars that have the experience that people expect any longer, their whole business model falls apart.
Yeah.
The inducements don't work
Something
if people don't want the hype, you know, the
It's-
sought after cars.
It's funny because this kind of thing in a way happened with a musical instrument company, Selmer, in way back in the day, because the Mark VI was a legendary product, one of the best saxophones ever made. And the factory burned down. So they were like, well, we got to follow it up. They came up with the Mark VII, and the Mark VII saxophones. The funny thing is, if a school district gives someone a Mark VII, they're like, we don't want it because it doesn't sound as good. The sixes, the ones that are out there, thanks to the fact that they don't make them anymore and they sound absolutely great. It's similar to what's happening with Ferrari right now, actually.
Right.
What your point is, it's the same thing. It just,
And it could spell
when the
trouble.
pantomime gets damaged, when that sort of the aura around the flagships and the Halo product, when that starts to get dented a bit, you start to lose people.
Well, you lose the money people first because they jump ship at the first sign of any trouble. They're gone.
Oh, yes, they do.
Right?
They bail fast.
And if you're not delivering the cars
Like
the
rats off a ship,
enthusiasts
bro.
want, the enthusiasts have already jumped ship. And I'm not
Yes.
going to give the finger to the camera, but the brand people are the only people left. And without the other two, you're not going to sustain that business model. You just won't.
No, you're not.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess what I'm saying is, like, look, I don't think they're in trouble quite yet, but I think they're in more trouble than a lot of people think right now.
Yeah,
in this
that
era
could
of
be something.
hybridization and OPFs and regulations. And I think, look, guys, they need to figure out how to turn this around. And I say this to Ferrari, and I say this to the entire European auto industry. You guys got to grow a pair of fucking balls, and you got to fucking push back against the EU, because if you don't do it, you're going to be regulated out of existence, and the Chinese companies are just going to take over all of the European car market. And
You don't want
you're
that.
going to lose all those jobs in the auto industry. It's going to be catastrophic for Europe if you guys don't start pushing back against your stupid ass government in Brussels. What I think we need to see, and look, I'm not totally anti-hybrid. I actually think the answer might be hybrids, but hybrids with naturally aspirated engines like the Revuelto. If that's the other frustrating thing here is, like, Ferrari went right to like downsizing and V6s and crap like that and being quiet. Lamborghini, meanwhile, they still make a V12 with a hybrid that screams.
Well,
So,
that brings
like,
me
why
to
can't
something
Ferrari
I want to say.
still do that? And
actually.
yes, Ferrari still makes the 12 cylindry and stuff, but, like, why can't Ferrari make engines? Like why are we downsizing so much? Like, guys, let's make the cars people want. Give me the replacement for the 296. It can still be a hybrid. Maybe it's not, but if it probably has to be a hybrid, make it a hybrid, but make it a naturally aspirated V8 or even a V6 that revs to Kingdom Come, and give it the hybridization, but not running alone. Help the torque of the engine so that you still get that connection with the car. You get the high revving experience. Do all of that, and the experience will be back. And straight up, like, and again, a lot of the European companies are starting to sound the alarm, but dude, it took them 10 years too long to realize.
Yeah,
this. And
they're
kind of in trouble. Look at Porsche's profits and stuff. They're in trouble right now. They
lost a lot of money.
They're all in a lot of trouble because they didn't do anything about this quick enough. And
no,
like,
what happened was they let.
So
what happened was they let the thing is, we all complained about General Motors pulling this kind of crap and too little too late almost 20 years back when they went to the federal government in the United States, you know, pockets outturned, hats in hand, like, give me money, because they didn't see the writing on the wall with their own products. There was something wrong. Here, the opposite happened. The European companies figured nothing was wrong with the government and just said, okay, well, we'll just figure it out.
Yeah,
Listen, guys, bad move, really bad move.
we've
Because
been, I know in America, we've been, at least amongst the car people, we've been seeing this coming since like 2016. I
we've
think the
known about
writing
it
was on the
because
wall in 2016 that this was going to happen.
the key difference with us was that it was through fuel economy we had a
Yeah.
problem.
No,
For
I mean,
them, it's
watching what was
emissions.
happening in Europe with the just the direction it was going, you could tell this was coming.
Yeah.
But
They
for whatever
allowed-
reason, these guys in Europe, these companies did not.
I don't want to get
figure that
too
out.
political on this podcast because I don't want to get
True.
flamed anywhere, but I'm going. But
Yeah.
you guys let the ultra far left in all of your home countries, whether it be Italy, Germany, the United Kingdom, or for that matter, France and Spain, run roughshod over governmental regulations and especially over environmental regulations to the point where you are going to have problems not only producing the cars that people need to get places. And I get it. I know that most of Western Europe is so compact compared to what we've got that a lot of people use mass transit, but it's a world economy. These companies are selling cars that aren't just being sold where you live. We're here in America, and for the most part, a lot of these companies, their biggest market is actually the US or it's China. It may not be the whole market anymore. That's interdependence,
China's
world
doing
economy.
their
Give me a
own kind of
damn
thing.
break.
But yeah, I do think there is a world.
This was a
where,
huge
if they
error.
can't turn the EU around, man, I think there is a world where some of these companies start to build the cars that the rest of the world's market wants elsewhere, and don't even sell GT3s in the EU. Don't even sell, V12 Ferraris in the EU. Let the Americans and the Middle Easterners have it, and the Asian markets have it.
Yeah.
Because look, if these people aren't going to get their politicians in line, they're gonna. I mean, look, you're not going to wind up with a clean auto industry. You're going to wind up with a Chinese auto industry. That's literally what's happening. So
you don't want that.
You got to wake up. You got to.
You don't want that. It's very bad. And the saddest part about this whole thing is that not only do everyone says to guys like us, we're like, oh, what do you know? We know more than you think, and the reason why we know more than you think is because when it comes to anybody who's an enthusiast, whether it's about cars, watches, whether it's about horses, anything that you're passionate about, oh no, we're the kinds of people who don't just pay attention. And sorry, this is going to be a rant, but I have to do it. We don't just pay attention to what's going on the national level. The first thing I learned when I got into politics in 2009, all politics is local. And in Europe, that's even more important than it is here.
Yeah.
The smaller the country, the more important that statement is. And if you're going to think to yourself, oh, well, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, bless your heart, because it matters. And if you want these people to keep their jobs, if you want these factories to stay open, then understand that some of these regulations are a lot more dangerous than they look, because you have these politicians who throw these arbitrary numbers out without understanding that if you want clean air, if you want a strong environment, you may be doing a great job of that in mainland Europe, and they are doing, for the most part, pretty well. Don't then destroy the auto industry that really, at the end of the day, probably isn't doing as much damage as, let's say, I don't know, all the smog being pushed out of China.
Well, regardless of all that, Al, like I would just say, how good are they going to do if their society collapses because their economy drops into the abyss?
Poorly.
Because their heaviest industries, their biggest employing industries no longer exist because the Chinese have taken over. How the hell is Europe? How clean do you think Europe's going to be if they go back to the fucking dark ages? Good luck with that.
It's going to be brutal. It's going to be real bad.
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
And
I put this, look, and I bring this up in the range of Ferrari because look, Ferrari's a small company, right?
Yes,
they are.
They're not big.
But they have the ears of their clientele. And their clientele are some of the richest and most influential people on earth. They can make shit happen. They can get the right people in the room to make shit happen. So I do put it on Ferrari, actually. I think they need to be doing, and look, here's the other thing, man. I'm sure they are doing everything they can. I'm sure they are in the back rooms. But if they aren't, doing absolutely everything they can, they need to be, because
nobody
wants quiet Ferraris, dude. Nobody wants. But yeah, John,
That'd be a
what are
little
your
much,
thoughts?
I don't know.
John, what are your thoughts on the direction of Ferrari, and then we can close this out.
Ferrari is Ferrari. They're always going to go their own way, which is what I like about them. They come out with this new electric car, and it all kind of makes us scratch our heads. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they need to do to make the best cars possible. And I do believe that at the end of the day, there's a strategy going on here where they're going to utilize this vehicle to maybe make something even crazier, or manual, or maybe something that is less compliant, right? Like what we've seen with the
Less
rumor
compliant.
with
Yeah.
right, like what we've seen with the rumor of the Ford Mustang EV, that kept the V8 Mustang around, and maybe they've got something going on in a similar fashion where they want to bring back maybe some NA V12s, and they have to build this car to do it.
That works for me, though.
If that is the case, then I think they're playing chess, and let's see what they come up with.
I do think
So
they
long
are.
as
I think they're playing chess for sure. The really question is like, how much are they really able to stand up to the powers that be in Europe, right? But like I said, I think they have the clientele with the network to be able to do it.
Yeah, I
within
think they'll
their
figure
own
out some
area where they
workarounds.
within their own region of Italy, I can guarantee you that they definitely have pull as a business. If they're set up anything similar to what we've got here, they've got to have some pull with local politicians there.
Well, they have the pull with the Pope. They just showed the Pope the Luce today, and
I'm sure he probably would bless that as much as he want to bless the Chicago Cubs. And by the way, he's a White Sox fan, so you know what I mean by that. That's a bitter little rivalry. But yeah, no, I think you guys we all made good points tonight. But you know what's funny about all this? At the end of the day, Fiat, which is one of the largest employers in Europe and have probably more influence within their own home country than any German automaker does, because literally with the Germans, they're split. There's a bunch. You got plenty of companies.
Yeah.
With Italy, Fiat owns all of them except for Ferrari at this point.
They own a controlling share in Ferrari too, I believe.
Controlling share, but Ferrari's
publicly traded.
Ferrari's publicly traded, but yes,
controlling share.
But it's not as but with Ferrari, it's only partial. Everyone else is pretty much that's it.
Yeah,
you're under that umbrella.
Yeah. So
essentially, if Fiat starts to get pissed off at the Italian government, I guarantee you, Giorgia Meloni is definitely going to be. She's going to probably be looking behind her back like, oh crap.
Well, and I think look,
something.
Ferrari is one of these.
Give it time. You never know.
Ferrari's one of these brands that like people are very passionate about. Clearly, we're all very passionate about it. We can go on and on for hours about it, but it's like, I mean, like the whole reason we're talking about this is because I think we all just want the best for Ferrari. We want Ferrari to succeed. We want Ferrari to survive. It scares us as lovers of the brand that when they're doing some weird stuff that it's like, why would
what
you
are you doing?
You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? And again, they're being forced to do some things that they don't maybe necessarily want to do, or in a way they don't want to do it. And I understand. And again, that's scary. That's why I get so mad about the politics in Europe. But in the end of the day, it's like, it's all for the love of this brand, the Prancing Horse, right? We love this brand. We're very passionate about it. And I really do want to see Lewis win in red. But I mean, I think that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah. How I named my parrot after the company's founder.
You did.
Yes.
So, and I've got my 250 GTO right here, and I've got my F50 F1 shirt on. Like, clearly I do love this stuff. And I think you have to be critical of the things you love if you see them going and doing some things that you find questionable. So, to be a critic is to be a fan, right?
Yep. Otherwise, we wouldn't be saying anything.
Exactly.
In fact, I think, you're probably going to laugh, but you talk about Ferrari a lot like I talk about my favorite sports teams, the Giants and the and the Mets. Sure. Because here's the thing, when it comes to baseball, football, and hockey, but when it comes to the Knicks, the Devils, the Mets, and the Giants, for me, we get critical. You guys have seen me, both of you see me rant and rave, and bitch and moan about our favorite things in life. Yeah, we bitch and moan. Yes, maybe some of us might get referred to as children over it. But you know what it is? When you're passionate about something, you care about something, it means you're a fan of it. End of the day.
Yeah,
Cut and dry. You want what's best.
we do.
And I mean, here's the thing. Just think about it. And I will say, and I want to end on this. Think about this for a second. The New York Knicks just made the finals for the first time in 27 years earlier this week on Monday night after dropping just an absolutely enormous amount of points on Cleveland and pretty much running them out of the building. And people in New York went out in the street after the game was over on 7th Avenue near Madison Square Garden and were just having the time of their lives. And the game wasn't even being played in New York. That's passion. That's love. And those are the same types of people, by the way, who I will hear call into WFAN, a station that I've listened to forever, and will voice their opinions, right or wrong, about whatever sports team they love in New York and just lay into them. And they're doing it because they want their team to win. We're doing this right now because we want Ferrari to be successful.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, I will be doing the same thing. I think there was a podcast topic potentially. I think, Nick, you brought it up, and I want to do this about when did each brand peak.
Yeah.
And I love the topic. In fact, I started thinking about it immediately. And the first two brands that came to my mind were actually Lincoln and BMW, believe it or not. Two brands that I've loved for years, especially, and I've bashed BMW all the time in private because of stuff they've done wrong. But that's because we're passionate about some of these companies.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see me being passionate about brands I don't like? Do you see me being passionate about, Nissan? Not really.
I'm
Just saying.
passionate about Nissan when I get cut off by an Altima on the highway and have to slam on my brakes.
That's a different kind of passionate.
Then I'm very passionate about Nissan. All right,
Yeah.
but anyways, I think that about does it for the Ferrari extravaganza tonight. We love you,
Absolutely.
Ferrari. These are all opinions. Please don't sue us. We love you. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the other videos, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.
Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Arrivederci. I'm going to bed.
That was perfect. That was a perfect sign off right there.